Chapter 477. Even though Tang Zheng had been calm for a long time, when he saw this scene, he was really shocked. He subconsciously took 2 steps back and asked, "King of Medicine, what are you doing? Get up quickly." The King of Medicine looked determined and did not move. He said, "Tang Zheng, I want to be your apprentice and ask you to teach me the art of alchemy." Tang Zheng was stunned. The King of Medicine actually wanted to be his apprentice. No one would believe it if he said it. The King of Medicine was already the top figure in the country, but he wanted to be Tang Zheng's apprentice. This would probably be the most explosive news in the circle. Looking at his burning and determined eyes, Tang Zheng instantly understood his thoughts. The King of Medicine was a person with a pure mind. He tirelessly pursued the way of curing diseases and saving people, so he did not hesitate to be Tang Zheng's apprentice. Tang Zheng quickly grabbed the King of Medicine's arm and gently lifted it. The King of Medicine did not want to get up, but he was lifted up by a strong force. The King of Medicine quickly said, "I'm serious. I really want to be your apprentice." Tang Zheng did not know whether to laugh or cry. He said, "Don't make it difficult for me. If I knew you would do this, I would have asked you for help. No, this is what I really want. Please help me. But you have been famous for a long time. If I take you as my apprentice, want to make the world laugh and laugh at me? It will also damage your reputation." Tang Zheng persuaded earnestly. The King of Medicine did not appreciate it and said, "What's the use of that false reputation? What I seek is profound medical skills, not undeserved fame." Seeing that he was so stubborn, Tang Zheng took out his trump card and said in a deep voice, "You also know that I am a cultivator, and this is the world of martial artists. In this world, you don't know how many people want to take my life. The Chu family, the Song family, and even the Yef family are all eyeing me covetously. They can't wait to eat me alive. If you worship me as your teacher, you will only bring disaster to yourself. So what if it's a monk killing disaster? As the ancient saying goes, if one hears the Tao in the morning, one can die in the evening, as long as he could learn alchemy. So what if he became a cultivator? Moreover, I believe that the distinction between cultivators and martial artists in this world is superfluous. There are thousands of different kinds of people, and it is impossible to make everyone the same. Therefore, whether it is society or individuals, they should be tolerant, and cultivators and martial artists are the most feasible way." Hearing the King of Medicine's eloquent words, Tang Zheng's face became serious. These words undoubtedly expressed his inner thoughts. The fundamental reason why Tang Zheng was unwilling to let cultivators return to this world was that cultivators and martial artists were not compatible. A great war was bound to break out between the 2 sides, and at that time, many people would lose their lives. He often wondered why the 2 sides could not coexist. This was his point of view as a contemporary. He was a person who started cultivating halfway, and from the beginning to the end, he had never been instilled with the idea that cultivators and martial artists were incompatible. Therefore, his mentality was the most tolerant. "King of Medicine, are you really not afraid that after becoming a cultivator, you will be ostracized and hunted down?" Tang Zheng asked particularly seriously. The King of Medicine shook his head firmly. "Of course not. I am willing to become a cultivator." This was the first time a martial artist was willing to become a cultivator. The King of Medicine's martial arts cultivation was not weak, and if he practiced magic, it would definitely be very difficult. Unexpectedly, the King of Medicine still did not care, and said confidently, "In my life, the one thing I am least afraid of is difficulty. The more difficult it is, the more I will face it. Master, please accept a bow from your disciple." Saying this, he broke free from his hands, and with a plop, knelt in front of Tang Zheng. Without waiting for Tang Zheng to object, he directly kowtowed 3 times, which could be considered the ceremony of becoming a disciple. Tang Zheng wanted to refuse, but it was too late. In the beginning, the King of Medicine wanted to accept him as a disciple and teach him medicine. Who would have thought that at this moment, the 2 people's identities would be swapped? Tang Zheng was not a wishy-washy person. Since the conditions were right, then he would let nature take its course, and said, "Since you insist, then I will no longer refuse. I will teach you the art of alchemy, but before that, you must first practice a cultivation technique. When you reach the 3rd grade refining qi, then you can refine pills. The king of medicine was extremely excited and hurriedly nodded. I will definitely work hard to practice. Master, please check on me at any time. Hearing him call him master, Tang Zheng still could not get used to it and still felt a little awkward. It must be known that the king of medicine was old enough to be his grandfather, but now he had actually become his disciple. If Tang Dahai knew about this, he would definitely reprimand him for being absurd and reckless. Since he had taken in a cheap disciple, Tang Zheng could not just take the good name, he also had to give the other person benefits. Thus, he organized a cultivation technique for the king of medicine to practice. Other than the ancient clear heaven scroll, Tang Zheng only knew the cloud water technique that Feng Shirsha practiced. The cloud water technique was a technique that was specially made for women. It was too feminine and was not suitable for the king of medicine. At the moment, he did not have a suitable method, so Tang Zheng only organized a set of techniques based on the ancient clear heaven scroll. It was not very powerful and could only be considered a beginner. In the future, when he found a suitable technique, he would pass it on to the king of medicine. Generally, when acknowledging a master, of course, a gift would be given. Tang Zheng pondered for a moment. He did not have any extra treasures, and other than the life-continuing pill, there was nothing else that he could take out. Thus, he simply gave the remaining 4 life-continuing pills to the king of medicine. This is a meeting gift for you. Remember, you can only eat one at a time. Too much is harmful. Tang Zheng warned. The king of medicine nervously said, Master, this is too precious. I cannot accept it. King of medicine, since you have already acknowledged me as your master, then you have to listen to my orders, right? I order you to accept it. Tang Zheng firmly said. The king of medicine was suddenly startled. He could only accept the 4 life-continuing pills. However, he could not hide the expression on his face. Tang Zheng believed that he would definitely carefully study the life-continuing pills, but Tang Zheng did not mind. Master, the auction is in 3 days. When the time comes, you should also go. The king of medicine said. Okay. Tang Zheng also wanted to personally see what kind of price the life-continuing pills could fetch. Thus, he gladly agreed. Tang Zheng left. This trip could be considered an unexpected harvest. Although it was unexpected, Tang Zheng threw this matter to the back of his mind in the blink of an eye. If it was anyone else, they would probably be so excited that they would not be able to sleep. He discovered that his personality and mentality had imperceptibly undergone many great changes. Normal people would think that things were impossible or unimaginable, but he was able to calmly accept them. For example, this time's apprenticeship. The sky gradually darkened. Tang Zheng had already left the capital and disappeared into the boundless mountain range. To the north of the capital was a natural moat. In ancient times, it was a place that military strategists would fight for. If the ethnic minorities outside the pass wanted to enter the pass, they would have to enter through this natural moat. Thus, every few years, there would be a series of battles here. There would be countless deaths and injuries. It was said that there were several graves near this pass. In ancient times, prisoners of war would not receive the same treatment as they do in modern times. They would often be subjected to inhumane torture and even be buried alive. Tens of thousands of people being buried alive. This scene, just thinking about it, made one's scalp numb. When Tang Zheng approached the pass, because of the mountain range, it was dark all year round. In addition, it was currently evening, so he could clearly feel the cold wind blowing in from all directions. The yin qi is dense. No wonder Tian Chanzi chose to raise Huang Ziang here. Tang Zheng secretly nodded. On both sides of this pass were tall mountains. Between the 2 mountains was a wide road overgrown with weeds. It was a scene of decline. Thinking back to the past, this place must have been extraordinarily noisy and heavily guarded. Tang Zheng walked step by step. It was as if he had returned to the era of golden spears and armored horses. Sounds of battle rang in his ears. No, Tang Zheng stopped in his tracks. This was not an illusion. His ears really rang with the sound of battle. as if he was really in an ancient battlefield. A chilly wind blew from the end of the road, swirling up the dust. The weeds on the ground rustled and whipped at the rocks on the side, making strange sounds. Sigh, if the War Soul Sword was here, and the War Soul Sword absorbed the Yin Qi, its strength would definitely increase greatly. I wonder how the War Soul Sword is now in the hands of the martial sect leader? Tang Zheng muttered regretfully. The sound of horse hooves suddenly rang out, and the cold wind blew. At the end of the road, there was a black mass, and the sky had unknowingly become completely dark, without a trace of moonlight. A ball of true fire rose from Tang Zheng's palm and floated in front of Tang Zheng, illuminating the surroundings. Kill! Under the order, the black mass surged and rushed towards Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng did not retreat. Instead, he quickly rushed out and attacked with an iron fist. Bang! An explosion sounded out in the air, and the black shadows had already rushed in front of him. They were hundreds and thousands of tall horses, and on top of the horses were armored soldiers. Ghost soldiers, ghost generals, these are all transformed from the souls of the soldiers who died in battle. If an ordinary person were to meet them, they would definitely be scared silly or even die. But you guys just had to meet me. Consider it your bad luck. Tang Zheng's iron fist smashed into the front of the enemy's warhorse. With a miserable cry, the warhorse turned into ashes, and the ghost soldier on the warhorse raised his spear and pierced towards Tang Zheng's chest. Tang Zheng's hand was as fast as lightning. He grabbed the spear and shook it fiercely, causing the ghost soldier to be sent flying. Tang Zheng held the spear in his hand and swept it out, like an angry dragon emerging from the sea. A large number of ghost soldiers on the warhorse turned into Yin Qi and dissipated. Although the enemy had the advantage in numbers, it was still a piece of cake for Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng's cultivation was much higher than theirs. The number of Yin soldiers gradually decreased, but not a single one of them ran away. Instead, they continued to attack, as if they wanted to use a war of attrition to exhaust Tang Zheng to death. Tang Zheng began a massacre, step by step, leaving behind traces of dense Yin Qi. When Tang Zheng was about to reach the end of the road, there were not many enemies left. Seeing that victory was in sight, suddenly a roar exploded, and a black shadow flew over, like a rock spreading its wings, descended from the sky, and attacked Tang Zheng without hesitation. Kill! The black shadow shouted. Bang! Chapter 478. Seeing the black shadow pouncing towards him with a shocking aura, Tang Zheng bellowed. His big hand drew a circle in the air and used the heaven-swallowing technique. The black shadow's attack was completely devoured by the heaven-swallowing technique. Tang Zheng soared into the air. His fingers closed together. Using his hand as a sword, he pierced towards the black shadow's eyes. The black shadow flipped backwards and dodged the attack, while Tang Zheng's hand directly pierced into the mountain wall, causing stone fragments to fly everywhere. The black shadow flipped his hands, and a ghost head blade appeared in his hands. Whoosh! The ghost head blade slashed downwards, opening and closing wide. It was exceptionally tyrannical. Tang Zheng blocked the ghost head blade with one move, while his other hand used the heaven-flying immortal sword technique, accurately stabbing into his opponent's body. Ding! Sparks flew, and the sound of metal striking stone suddenly rang out. The black shadow's body was actually as hard as a boulder, and was not damaged in the slightest. Tang Zheng was someone who had cultivated the chaotic Vajra spell before, so he understood very well how difficult it was for the body to reach such a level of toughness. The black shadow only retreated slightly after taking a blow, and the ghost head blade in his hand chopped down. Heaven falls and earth rends. Since the other party was not a good person, Tang Zheng did not hold back anymore. Using his hand as a sword, he used the fourth move of the heaven-flying immortal. Degrees Celsius because bang! The ghost head blade was sent flying by this attack, and Tang Zheng's finger cut a large hole in the black shadow's chest, forcing the black shadow to stop. Huang Ziang! Tang Zheng finally saw the black shadow's face clearly. It was actually the Huang Zhang he was looking for. His cultivation was much higher than the last time they met in the capital. He was at least at the third stage of the Immediate stage, which was equivalent to the third stage of the pre-celestial stage. In addition, Huang Zhang's body was much stronger than an ordinary person's, and his fighting strength would far surpass that of a pre-celestial stage martial artist. Huang Zhang no longer had any intelligence, so his attack just now was instinctive. So Tang Zheng immediately formed a few seals with his hands and slapped them into his mind. This way, he would listen to Tang Zheng's orders. Sure enough, the restless Huang Zhang immediately calmed down and obediently stood beside Tang Zheng like a kitten. Tang Zheng let out a long sigh and said with emotion, Tian Chanzi is really powerful. Putting him in this place, his cultivation has actually increased by so much in such a short period of time. Let's leave this damn place. Tang Zheng looked around. Huang Zhang, Tang Zheng, Tang Zheng, Tang Zheng, Tang Zheng, Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng did not like to stay in this gloomy place. 3 days later, the auction would be held in one of the best auction centers in the capital. This auction gathered many rich people from all walks of life, and the scale of the auction was so high that it was rarely seen in the past years. At this moment, the King of Medicine was standing at the entrance of the auction center, looking forward. There were many people who recognized him standing around, and they were all guessing who was worth the King of Medicine waiting for. Many rich people eagerly ran up to greet the King of Medicine, looking forward to the day when they needed the King of Medicine's help. The King of Medicine was obviously absent-minded and did not care about the flattery of these rich people. Suddenly, a young man walked over, surrounded by a myriad of stars. This man had red lips, white teeth, and a handsome appearance. As soon as he appeared, he attracted the attention of many women, and there were even some who directly threw flirtatious glances at him. But he acted as if he did not see it, and strode towards the King of Medicine, and said respectfully, "Senior King of Medicine, hello." The King of Medicine glanced at the other party, nodded at the other party reservedly, and said, "Song Yu, did the Song family send you this time?" "Yes, my father is busy with other business, and I have always been interested in novel things, so I came to look for treasures," Song Yu said with a warm smile on her face. "After the auction, if Senior King of Medicine has time, this junior will treat you to dinner." "We'll see," the King of Medicine said expressionlessly. Song Yu did not mind and nodded. While they were talking, the other two people also arrived and went straight to the King of Medicine. Both of them had modest smiles on their faces. "Senior King of Medicine, I didn't expect you to come to the auction this time. If there is any panacea, please reveal it in advance and let us broaden our horizons." Yin Luyin laughed heartily, but did not lose his respect. Yiko also nodded and said hello. The King of Medicine said the Yin family and the Ye family also came, and they're all the elites of the third generation. It seems that several of your families have let you come out to experience. In the past, at this kind of auction, the second generation of several families would be present. This time, they sent them without prior consultation. It seems that they're determined to focus on training these third generation. "Hey, why is there one person missing? Is there no one from the Chu family?" The King of Medicine asked casually. "Something happened in the Xiaofeng family, and they can't get away for the time being," Song Yu explained. "Oh, I remember. Chu Chongyang is dead, and the Chu family must have become a pot of porridge." The King of Medicine and the Chu family's relationship was not very good, so he said without any scruples. Several people smiled bitterly, but it was not easy to answer. "Just now, you said that you wanted to see the panacea. This time, you came to the right place," the King of Medicine said. Several people were a little excited and asked, "Is there really a panacea?" In the past, the King of Medicine would also take out some medicinal pills to auction. These medicinal pills had the effect of conditioning the body and mind and prolonging life. Even so, they were the target of many rich people. "Of course there is, and it is definitely beyond your imagination," the King of Medicine vowed. The few of them were skeptical, but the Medicine King never boasted. Since he was so confident, then this thing should be 80 to 90% accurate. Several people gradually became excited and secretly made up their minds to bid for this panacea later. Seeing that the King of Medicine was still looking into the distance from time to time, Song Yu asked, "Senior King of Medicine, are you waiting for someone?" The King of Medicine nodded. Several people looked at each other. Who on earth was so important that the King of Medicine came to greet them in person? It should be known that in the past, it was others who waited for the King of Medicine. They were not in a hurry to leave, and they were ready to see who it was. Suddenly, the King of Medicine showed an excited look and quickly walked down the stairs. Several people's hearts skipped a beat, and they hurriedly looked in the direction of the footsteps. They saw two people strolling towards them. The three of them were dumbstruck. It was as if they had been immobilized. They couldn't move at all. How could it be Tang Zheng? The person next to him is the mysterious master who appeared at the Yin family's birthday banquet. Why is the King of Medicine so enthusiastic? Song Yu's heart set off stormy waves. Yin Luyun and Yi Ke's thoughts were also similar. After Yin Luyun was shocked, he quickly walked towards Tang Zheng, while Song Yu and Yi Ke stood on the spot. The King of Medicine looked at Huang Xiang in surprise. He was deeply impressed by this person. When he was in ordinary balance, he also came to assassinate Tang Zheng. If the King of Medicine did not sacrifice himself to save Tang Zheng's life would have already been lost. Now they were together again. It was really strange. However, the King of Medicine did not ask much and respectfully shouted to Tang Zheng, "Master, you are here. I'm not late." Tang Zheng said with a smile, "No, the auction is ready. Let's go in first." "Okay. Haha, Brother Tang, you are here too. It's been a long time." Yin Luyan laughed and held Tang Zheng's hand tightly. "Young Master Yin is also here. Yeah, there are quite a few good treasures in an auction of this scale. If Brother Tang takes a fancy to anything later on, don't hesitate and make the first move to gain the upper hand. These people are all hungry wolves, and when they see a little treasure, they will fight until their heads bleed." Yin Luyan kindly introduced. "I just came to open my eyes." Tang Zheng shrugged. "Master, let's go in. The auction is about to start," the King of Medicine said. Tang Zheng nodded and walked up the stairs. Yin Luyan was stunned on the spot. He thought that there was something wrong with his ears. The King of Medicine actually called Tang Zheng Master. This was a mess. Didn't the King of Medicine want to take Tang Zheng as his disciple? Why did he call Tang Zheng Master instead? Yin Luyan followed with suspicion, but he was too embarrassed to ask directly. However, he found something strange. The King of Medicine was really respectful to Tang Zheng, just like a disciple to his master. It was completely different from the last time they met. The world is in chaos, Yin Luyan shook his head hard and muttered in his heart, "Oh, young Master Song and young Master Yi are also here. I really let you down. I did not do as you wished, and I am still standing here alive." Tang Zheng said with a smile, but his words were full of gunpowder. When Tang Zheng was injured and unconscious, these two people intended to harm him. He would not forget this grudge. Yi Ke awkwardly said, "Tang Zheng, there must be a misunderstanding. Your relationship with Ding Dang is not shallow. How can we want you to die?" "He is it. If you don't want people to know, then don't do it. I remember everything that the two of you have done in my mind." Tang Zheng pointed to his head and said with a cold smile. Song Yu said with an ashen face, "Tang Zheng, when we met for the first time in ordinary balance, it was also at the auction. I still remember that you bought a pill furnace. I never thought that you, who was not amazing at that time, would achieve today's achievements in a short period of time. You have stirred up turmoil in the capital. If you had known earlier, I am afraid that you would not have lived until today." Song Yu and Tang Zheng had deep grievances. Therefore, there was no false civility at all. They were directly opposed to each other. "Young Master Song, if you want to kill me, then do it. Otherwise, why are you talking so much nonsense? Moreover, at the martial arts convention, I was plotted against. I have not yet found the person behind the scenes. If I find out who did it, do you think I will let him go?" Tang Zheng asked. Song Yu's heart thumped, but she did not show any difference. She said lightly, "Is that so? Then I wish you to find the real culprit behind the scenes as soon as possible. Seeing that Song Yu did not have the slightest difference, Tang Zheng could not determine whether this matter was done by him. Moreover, he had just killed Chu Chongyang. At this time, if he killed Song Yu, he would really become the target of public criticism. Even if he knew that the other party did not have good intentions, Tang Zheng could not do it like this. Master, let's go in. The auction is about to start, the king of medicine advised. Tang Zheng nodded, snorted, and walked into the auction center, leaving only Song Yu and Yi Ke looking at each other. They also thought that they had heard wrong. How could the king of medicine call Tang Zheng master? Chapter 479. Under the Medicine King's lead, Tang Zheng and Huang Xiang walked into the auction center, immediately attracting the gazes of many people. Everyone whispered to each other, trying to guess just who this person was to actually cause the Medicine King to mobilize so many people. Tang Zheng glanced at the people seated in the hall. Every one of them had an extraordinary aura. He could tell that they were either wealthy or respectable people. However, he spotted two familiar faces in the crowd. Qi Shaoan and Old Wei saw him as well. They immediately stood up and walked toward him. Professor Qi, you're here too. Tang Zheng greeted them with a smile. During this time, Qi Shaoan had been researching about the ancient times. This time, he was specially invited by the organizer as a consultant. Given his status in the field of archaeology, with him in charge, it was guaranteed that the antiques auctioned here would be authentic. Old Wei was indebted to Tang Zheng for helping him to bury the hatchet with Qin Batian. Otherwise, the 1,000-year-old blood jade he sold to Qin Batian would have costly Hongqing her life. If that happened, his antique shop would not be able to continue operating. Old Wei was very grateful to Tang Zheng. However, during this period of time, every time he asked Qi Shaoan to invite Tang Zheng out, Qi Shaoan would refuse, which made him feel strange. Young Master Tang, we finally meet again. I haven't thanked you properly for what you did last time. After the auction is over, you must come. I'll treat you to a meal. Old Wei said warmly. It's just a small matter. Don't worry about it. It may be a small matter to you, but it's a big deal to me. Old Qi, you're his mentor. Please say a few words for him. Old Wei said. Qi Shaoan did not agree. Ever since he found out about Tang Zheng's identity as a cultivator, his desire to take him in as his disciple had faded. Tang Zheng's identity made it impossible for him to focus on boring archaeology work. However, his impression of Tang Zheng did not deteriorate. Instead, he was more interested in him. Tang Zheng, you're here for the auction too? Were you auctioning? Qi Shaoan asked curiously. Tang Zheng nodded. We're auctioning off some small items. You'll see later. Seeing that he was keeping them in suspense, the two of them did not ask in detail. They nodded at the King of Medicine and Huang Xiang and returned to their seats. Although the King of Medicine was well known, not everyone knew who he was. At least, Qi Shaoan and Old Wei didn't know who he was, so they weren't as surprised as those who knew the inside story. After sitting in the VIP seat, the King of Medicine sat next to him and softly introduced the auction process and precautions. At this time, the three young masters also walked in. They looked deeply at Tang Zheng and then sat on the other side of the VIP seats. The organizer went up on stage and said a lot of nonsense before announcing the start of the auction. This auction was very direct. They skipped a lot of unnecessary formalities and directly presented the auction items. These auction items included works of art, antiques, paintings, jade, and even medicine. According to the King of Medicine's introduction, many of these medicines were at the forefront of science and technology. Many serious diseases that caused ordinary people to pale and fright also had corresponding medicines to treat them. However, these drugs were often in the experimental stage and had a certain risk. Of course, they were also extremely expensive and could only be tested on a small scale. Even so, the auction every year was still very competitive. For rich people who were heavily armed, even if there was a glimmer of hope, they would still rush like ducks. Seeing the bids being raised again and again, each time increasing the price by millions, they really experienced the life of the rich. To them, wealth was just a number. As long as it was for the goal in their hearts, they would not be stingy with money. The next auction item is a gentleman's family heirloom. Because the gentleman is in urgent need of money, he put it up for auction. This auction item is called the golden jade purple garment. The specific age is unknown, but after the appraisal by our advisory team, it is without a doubt authentic. The auctioneer introduced. A purple garment appeared in front of everyone. This garment was very bright and colorful. The main color was purple, but it was interspersed with gold embellishments, which made the color of the whole garment appear more lively. Purple was a noble color, and it was extremely difficult for ordinary people to wear it. Moreover, this was an ancient garment. Modern people could only wear it at home. Moreover, this was an antique. Even if it was bought, it would be as a work of art. No one would really wear it. When the crowd saw the golden jade purple garment, there were obviously not many people interested. Many people shook their heads. The value of antique clothing was lower than other types of antiques, and it was extremely difficult to preserve, so it was not on the list of the bidding targets. Only a few women were attracted. They praised, "The clothes of ancient times are so beautiful, like clothes worn by gods. It is much more beautiful than the clothes in the fashion week." The starting price is 5 million, and each bid is increased by 500,000. When the auctioneer said this price, there was a burst of boos. This price was the lowest in an auction of this level. Although the price was low, there were not many people who were willing to buy it. This kind of high-standard auction, this kind of quality auction item must have come in through the back door. Someone muttered and questioned, "Let's see who will buy this thing." The auctioneer looked at the guests expectantly. No one raised their paddle for a long time. He thought that the auction was going to fail. Finally, a woman raised her paddle. The auctioneer excitedly shouted, 5 million. This lady has bid 5 million. Is there anyone who wants to go higher? This woman is a fashion designer. This must be bought for research. Someone recognized the bidder. Only they would be interested in this dress. After this bid, no one raised their paddle for a long time. Seeing this, the auctioneer shouted, 5 million going once, 5 million going twice. Just when he was about to shout 5 million 3 times, a person raised his paddle and increased the price. 5,500,000. This gentleman has bid 5,500,000. Is there anyone who wants to go higher? The auctioneer excitedly said, "Huh, there was really a spendthrift who increased the price." Everyone looked at the person who raised the paddle at the same time. It was a young face sitting in the VIP seat. "Ah, isn't this the young man who came in with the King of Medicine just now? Why is he interested in this dress?" Everyone murmured in their hearts, especially the 3 young masters. They couldn't help but sit up straight and stare at Tang Zheng with burning eyes. When the King of Medicine heard Tang Zheng's bid, he was also surprised and asked, "Master, why are you interested in this dress?" Tang Zheng slightly raised the corner of his mouth and said calmly, "I'm determined to get this dress." The King of Medicine was slightly stunned and didn't know what he meant. He said, "The price of this dress is definitely not very high. If you like it, you can buy it." Of course, Tang Zheng wouldn't waste a few million for no reason. This golden jade amethyst dress was worth it. No, it was worth far more than a few million. Tang Zheng felt the fluctuation of spiritual power on this dress. This was a magic weapon, and a black level one at that. However, this was a defensive magic weapon, not an offensive magic weapon. Even so, it was still worth a lot of money. It was useless to others, but it was of great use to Tang Zheng. When the designer saw someone increasing the price, she didn't raise her paddle again. Obviously, in her mind, this dress wasn't worth increasing the price. When the auctioneer saw this, he thought the auction would be over soon and directly shouted, 5,500,000, going once. But just as he finished speaking, a person raised his paddle. When the auctioneer saw the person who raised his paddle, he excitedly opened his eyes wide and even raised his voice. He shouted, "Young Master Song increased the price by 500,000. Is there anyone who wants to go higher?" If Tang Zheng bid for a small stone that fell into the lake, at this moment, Song Yu's bid was like a big stone that fell in the water, creating a circle of ripples. Originally, some people were already drowsy, But at this moment, they immediately raised their spirits, held their breath, and looked at the golden jade amethyst dress again. They wanted to see what kind of treasure this was, that it could even make the Song family take action. Everyone still hadn't seen the reason why, and Yiko also raised her paddle. Young Master Yi increased the price by 500,000. The auctioneer's voice trembled. This time, the most inconspicuous item actually aroused the interest of the two families, which was really unexpected. Before everyone could recover from their shock, Yin Luyan had also raised his paddle. This time, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air, thinking that today's trip was not in vain. To actually see the three great families interested in the same auction item at the same time, there was a good show to watch. Many people looked at Tang Zheng regretfully. The three families had already taken action, so this person definitely had no hope. Tang Zheng slightly frowned and glanced at the three people. He only saw Yin Luyan nodding and smiling at him, and the other two people had a cold face. Tang Zheng did not hesitate to raise his paddle, and Song Yu immediately raised her paddle. Yi Ku and Yin Luyan followed closely behind. After that, the four people took turns to raise their paddles, and it became a competition. Others looked at this scene dumbfoundedly. Was this the willfulness of the rich? For a broken piece of clothing, the competition was so fierce that it had entered a white-hot stage. The auctioneer was also petrified. He had experienced many large-scale auctions, but there was no such situation. The four people seemed to be determined to get this golden jade amethyst dress, and they were rich and willful. 10 million. The auctioneer trembled and shouted. This was really like a dream. Yin Luyan stood up directly and shouted, "I will bid 20 million. I will give this golden jade amethyst dress to Brother Tang." Tang Zheng froze for a moment. He did not expect Yin Luyan to bid for him. Suddenly, Tang Zheng immediately became the focus of attention. His first bid was 20 million, and it was from the Yin family. This was clearly the Yin family showing goodwill to Tang Zheng. Many people who did not know the inside story were speculating about what kind of sacred being Tang Zheng was, and how could he be valued by the Yin family. Chapter 480. Whether it was worth it or not. Only the person involved, Yin Luyan, had the answer, but other people's feelings of awe for Tang Zheng arose spontaneously. There was no doubt that Tang Zheng's name would be thoroughly spread in these rich and powerful circles, and it would be even more resounding than before. Looking at Tang Zheng's astonished expression, Yin Luyan was very satisfied with his own actions. To make a person impressed, he had to do something unexpected. Since the Yin family even refused the request of the palace, their thoughts of winning over Tang Zheng would be even more unscrupulous, and they did not need to care about other people's attitudes. "Young Master Yin, how can this be?" Tang Zheng shouted across the air. Yin Luyan smiled heroically and said, "Why not? Just treat it as a small gift from me to you. 20 million for a small gesture." None of the people present were poor, but not many of them had such boldness. The King of Medicine had a good relationship with the Yin family. Seeing that the Yin family obviously wanted to make friends with Tang Zheng, he was happy to see it and advised, "Master, the Yin family's good intentions, there is no need to refuse." Tang Zheng secretly nodded. No matter what medicine the Yin family was selling in the gourd, the relationship between Tang Zheng and the other three families was very tense. There was no need to push the Yin family to the opposite side. So, he cupped his hands and said, "Thank you for young Master Yan's good intentions." Yin Luyan heard the words, and his eyebrows showed joy. Tang Zheng accepted this gift, and the relationship with the Yin family could be deepened step by step. Song Yu and Yika looked at each other and were shocked by this change. Was it really worth it for the Yin family to spend so much? Did they want Yin Luyan to succeed? Yika's tight body softened and leaned on the chair. She did not intend to fight for it. Since Yin Luyan said so, there was no need to fight for it and intensify the contradiction with the Yin family. Song Yu's expression kept changing as he stared at the golden jade purple robe. With his knowledge, he really couldn't see what was so special about it. He then looked at the calm and composed Tang Zheng and the determined Yin Luyan. He couldn't help but sigh and lean back in his chair. Obviously, after weighing the pros and cons, he gave up on the fight. With the Song family's current status and ability, it was definitely not a good thing to go head-to-head with the Yin family. Seeing that no one was bidding anymore, the auctioneer made the final call. The gold and jade amethyst robe now belonged to Tang Zheng. It would only be returned to him after the auction. After this fierce bidding, everyone felt that this trip was worthwhile, but more people gradually understood that the situation in the capital was becoming more and more delicate. Next is the last item of today's auction. It is rare in the world. It can be said that it is the most precious item in the past years. Perhaps some people will question its authenticity and think that it is a fantasy. Even I can't help but wonder if it really has such a magical effect. The auctioneer took a deep breath and said with a tone full of emotion. Everyone's attention was attracted by this remark. The three young masters' originally relaxed minds were tense again. They remembered the elixir that the king of medicine had said. The auctioneer saw that everyone's interest was aroused and continued with satisfaction. This item is called the Life Continuing Pill. As the name suggests, it is to extend a person's life. For example, you can live for 80 years, but after you take this Life Continuing Pill, you can live for more than 10 years. When this remark came out, everyone was silent. Obviously, everyone was shocked by this sentence. But in an instant, it was like a drop of water being thrown into a pot of boiling oil. The hall became lively, whispers and discussions. "You're joking, right?" Someone questioned. The auctioneer bitterly smiled and resentfully said, "I also suspect that I am joking, but I will solemnly tell you that this is not a joke." "Nonsense. How could there be a life-continuing pill in this world? Isn't this like a legendary elixir?" "That's right. The medicines that were auctioned before were at most to nourish the body and prolong one's life. This life-continuing pill actually said that it can extend a person's life by more than 10 years. This kind of lie is too untrustworthy." Many people had this kind of thought. The auctioneer understood these people's doubts, but he didn't panic. Instead, he took a deep breath and calmly said, "Everyone's doubts are very reasonable because no one has seen this kind of miraculous elixir with their own eyes before. But I want to say that since this life-continuing pill can participate in this auction, then there must be a reason." Seeing that everyone was craning their necks, the auctioneer did not keep them in suspense and directly said, "This auction item was sent by the King of Medicine Senior, and he vouched for it. Does anyone still have doubts?" The mocking words that many people had prepared were about to burst out of their throats, but after hearing this sentence, it was as if someone had grabbed their throats and forcibly choked them back. The King of Medicine vouched for it. Many people who knew of the King of Medicine's reputation immediately craned their necks to look at the King of Medicine, but saw that he was calm and composed, full of confidence. It was obvious that the auctioneer's words were not false. The King of Medicine vouched for it. Could it be that this life-continuing pill really is an elixir? It's possible the King of Medicine Senior would not destroy his own reputation. Moreover, there is no need for him to create this kind of fake gimmick. The three young masters really wanted to rush over and ask the King of Medicine what was going on, but they understood more than anyone else the King of Medicine's authority. The three of them did not have any more doubts, but their eyes became more and more heated. This kind of elixir must be obtained. Every family needed it. "Senior King of Medicine Senior, I have a question I would like to ask. Even if this life-continuing pill really has the effect of prolonging one's life, how can you be sure that it can extend one's life by more than 10 years? Someone finally couldn't help but stand up and politely ask. The King of Medicine said without changing his expression, "I want to be clear. The life-continuing pill does not only have the effect of prolonging one's life, but it can really extend one's life. For example, if a dying person takes the life-continuing pill, his life will immediately increase by more than 10 years, unless there is an accident." When everyone heard this, their eyes widened and their breathing involuntarily quickened. The richer a person was, the more they cherished their life. Everyone would reach the end of their life. And at that time, as long as they took the life-continuing pill, their life would increase by more than 10 years. No one would refuse such a gift. Could this be the result of Senior King of Medicine Senior's research? Someone asked. The king of medicine explained, I am ashamed. This is not the result of my research, but the result of my master. The life-continuing pills auctioned today were all made by my master. Everyone revealed a suspicious expression. The king of medicine had been famous for a long time, but the others had never heard him mention his master. Many people were very curious about this mysterious master. To be able to make such a miraculous elixir, how great must his ability be? But there were 3 people who were shocked, and they all looked at Tang Zheng. They had personally heard the king of medicine call Tang Zheng his master. Could it be that the master the king of medicine was talking about was him? May I ask who your honorable master is? Can he broaden our horizons? The king of medicine pointed at Tang Zheng and said, This is my master. Tang Zheng's expression did not change, but the others were so shocked that their jaws almost fell to the ground. Even if Yin Luyun and the others had guessed a little, they were shocked speechless by this news. Senior King of Medicine Senior, you must be joking. Someone did not believe it. The King of Medicine's face darkened and said, I never joke. Huh? Everyone was stunned. Seeing his serious expression, it did not seem like he was joking. Suddenly, everyone looked at Tang Zheng with more and more complicated eyes. At such a young age, he had become the King of Medicine's master. No one would believe it, but since it came from the King of Medicine's mouth, they could not help but believe it. Tang Zheng was calm and composed, and really had an unfathomable demeanor. Moreover, just now Yin Luyin did not hesitate to use 20 million to get on good terms with the other party. This showed that his identity was not ordinary. Many people gradually dispelled their worries and began to look forward to the mysterious life-continuing pill. They made up their minds to get a life-continuing pill and store it away in case they needed it. Many people even began to make phone calls to report this important news to their families. Even the 3 young masters were no exception. They understood Tang Zheng better than ordinary people. Others may have doubted the authenticity of the life-continuing pill, but they immediately believed it because Tang Zheng was a cultivator. There were many things about cultivators that could not be measured by common sense. Since no one has any more questions, then the auction will begin. As the first person to bid for this miraculous pill, I am honored. The starting price for one life-continuing pill is 10 million. Each bid will increase by 1 million. As the voice fell, an attendant walked onto the stage with a brocade box in her hands. When the brocade box was opened, a strange fragrance assailed everyone's nostrils, causing them to feel refreshed. Everyone stretched their necks, wanting to see the true appearance of the life-continuing pill. The appearance of the life-continuing pill was not bad. It had a bit of the charm of an immortal pill. This smell is too good. It makes people feel refreshed. Just by smelling it, I'm afraid my insomnia will be cured. Someone eagerly said, but some people did not care about praising it and directly raised their paddle. 20 million. From 10 million to 20 million, it could be seen how attractive the life-continuing pill was. 30 million. Some people did not want to fall behind and continued to raise the price. From this moment on, the auction reached its climax, with the price increasing by the tens of millions. The auctioneer's face flushed red. This was too exciting. This was called being willful with money. This was called using money to buy a life. Each and every one of them were red in the face, almost coming to blows. The king of medicine nodded his head in satisfaction and said, Master, I already said that the life-continuing pill's value can only be displayed in this kind of place. Looking at their enthusiasm, this time it will definitely exceed our expectations. Tang Zheng gave a gratified smile. If it was not for the king of medicine's help, then he would not have been able to sell it for such a good price. The life-continuing pill had already been bid for 100 million. 100 million was a sky-high price. Was it expensive? Not expensive. Not expensive at all. Nowadays, a blue and white porcelain or a master's painting could be sold for a sky-high price of several hundred million. If a godly pill that could extend a person's life by 10 years was not sold for 100 million, then it would be an insult to the godly pill. Chapter 481. The bidding price had already soared to 200 million, But the rich people's enthusiasm did not diminish. The three young masters were finally unable to sit still. Song Yu suddenly stood up and loudly shouted, 300 million! Then, she looked at the others with an unkind expression. When the rich people who were originally full of confidence saw this, they subconsciously stopped. These rich people could compete with each other, but they did not have the background and strength of the large families. Competing with them was tantamount to a mantis trying to stop a chariot. However, there were exceptions to everything. An old rich man supported himself with a walking stick and shakily stood up and shouted, I bid 400 million. Song Yu's eyes turned cold and swept towards the old man like a sharp knife. The veins on the old man's hand popped out. Why was he not afraid of the Song family? Because he was a person who was about to die. The doctor had already given him an ultimatum. If a miracle did not happen, then he would have to report to the king of hell. The life-continuing pill was his only hope of survival. Even if he had to take a huge risk, he still had to fight for it. However, the others did not have the courage. Seeing Song Yu's unkind expression, many people's hearts were in turmoil. When the auctioneer saw this hostile situation, his throat became dry. He coughed and coughed to ease his nervousness. He asked, Is there anyone who wants to bid higher? 500 million. Song Yu gnashed her teeth as she shouted. Her eyes were about to spit fire, and her gaze could kill. The old man wanted to raise his paddle again, but he was pulled back by the younger generation. It was clear that they knew that Song Yu was on the verge of exploding. The old man was not afraid of the Song family, but the younger generation could not bear the anger of the Song family. The old man sighed and regretfully lowered his head. It was as if all the strength in his body had been sucked out. He listlessly sat on the chair. Song Yu revealed a proud expression. The Song family's name had finally suppressed the others. This life-continuing pill was in her bag. This was what the old master of the Song family, Song Jianan, had instructed. They had to obtain the life-continuing pill at all costs, so Song Yu naturally didn't dare to be negligent. However, when his gaze swept past Tang Zheng, it was as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over his head, and the complacent expression on his face completely vanished. Was the life-continuing pill worth being happy about? Of course, but looking at Tang Zheng, why couldn't he feel happy at all? That was because he had given the 500 million yuan to Tang Zheng. He had allowed Tang Zheng to earn an astronomical amount of money. As an old enemy, of course, he would not be happy. But what could he do? Apart from the life-continuing pill, there were no other pills. If one wanted to increase their lifespan, they would have to obediently fork out the money. Yin Luyun and Yi Ku also couldn't wait to spend money, but they did not compete with Song Yu, because the continuing life pill was not the only one, and there was no need to raise the price. A life-continuing pill, 500 million yuan sold. This life-continuing pill belongs to young Master Song. Congratulations. The auctioneer made the final decision and announced excitedly. The etiquette lady walked in front of Song Yu with a brocade box in her hand. Song Yu hurriedly stood up and took the brocade box with both hands. It was as if he was holding a sacred object, both excited and respectful. A burst of fragrance assailed his nostrils, making him have an impulse to swallow it directly. However, this was something that the old man wanted, so he did not dare to fill his own pockets. In fact, to be honest, he was still young and did not need this thing. The biggest role of the life-continuing pill was that it was effective for the dying and the elderly. For people who still had decades to live, the effect of the life-continuing pill was not obvious. Although the life-continuing pill allowed a person's body to extend their lifespan by 10 years, if they encountered an accident, such as being stabbed in the chest by a sword, this person would still die. The life-continuing pill was not a gold medal to avoid death. It only extended the body's life functions. Song Yu could not wait to put away the life-continuing pill, keeping it close to his body. Then, he was ready to go and prepare for the next auction. The etiquette lady held a life-continuing pill on the stage. Everyone was quiet. This time, no one shouted a price, but they all looked at Yin Luyun and Yi Ku, who were sitting quietly. Since the three big families were determined to get this thing, they simply did not want to get involved. First, They would let them harvest it, and then see if there was a chance to fight for it. Yin Luyin directly shouted a price of 500 million yuan. No one competed with him again, and he received a life-continuing pill. Yika followed suit and also bought a life-continuing pill at the same price. Tang Zheng looked at all this without saying a word. It seemed that the clouds were light and the wind was light, but in fact, there were stormy waves in his heart. He did not expect that a life-continuing pill could be auctioned for a sky-high price of 500 million yuan. Selling it to Xuanji was really too cheap for him. He still underestimated the desire of these rich people for life. 1 is 500 million yuan. 10 is not 5 billion yuan. Tang Zheng excitedly thought, so that his industry would have enough funds to operate for the time being. The king of medicine subconsciously touched the life-continuing pill in his pocket. The gift that Tang Zheng gave him was really too valuable. Even if his concept of money was not very keen, he also knew what this price meant. Suddenly, he looked at Tang Zheng with more and more fiery eyes. When the etiquette lady held the 4th life-continuing pill and walked on the stage, the crowd suddenly exploded and boiled up. The 3 big families had already received one, and no one fought with them. Now, they could finally bid with their own ability. However, everything would not necessarily go according to people's wishes. The eyes of the old man who had previously given up lit up, and he stood up directly. Using all his strength, he shouted, 1 billion, I will give 1 billion yuan. Hiss! Many people sucked in a breath of cold air. The previous price of 500 million yuan was already not low, and now it was doubled. 1 billion yuan, even for rich people, was not a small amount. However, this old man was obviously very eager for life, and was determined to buy a life-continuing pill. Many people saw this and began to retreat. The 3 young masters were originally prepared to compete, but they were stumped by the old man's formation. Just now, the old man was scared off. But now, even if the 3 big families increased the price, he would still stake everything on this one bid. The 3 looked at each other and saw the worry in each other's eyes. This old man was already possessed and was like a madman. There was no need to compete with a madman. Thus, everyone tacitly agreed not to raise the price. The 4th life-continuing pill was successfully auctioned off at a sky-high price of 1 billion yuan. Tang Zheng also did not expect this, but more money flowed into his wallet, so of course he was happy to see it. This is already the 4th pill. How many life-continuing pills are there? Song Yu muttered to herself. Everyone else also had the same question in their hearts. Finally, someone could not help but ask, how many life-continuing pills are there? 10. The auctioneer stretched out his 10 fingers. Now is the 4th life-continuing pill. Since everyone's enthusiasm is so high, then we will not set a starting price. If you're interested, please directly offer a price. If the auctioneer had a heart disease, he was afraid that his heart disease would relapse. This kind of bidding was really too stimulating. Hearing that there were 10 life-continuing pills, there were only 6 left. The 3 young masters looked at each other. Song Yu said, 2. Since there are still 6 pills, then we can divide them equally among the 3 families. We can also bid for 2 more life-continuing pills, not giving others a chance to take advantage of us. What do you think? Yikan nervously nodded and said, I think so. Yin Lian looked at the 2 of them meaningfully and said in a non-committal manner, I'm afraid things won't be as simple as you think. Many people's eyes are red, and they're going crazy. For the life-continuing pill, they will not hesitate to pay any price. If we want to bid fairly, then we will definitely pay a high price. Song Yu was not reconciled and said coldly, Are these people pig brains? Raising the price so unscrupulously. In the end, the one who will benefit is Tang Zheng. Yin Luyan frowned and said, So what if Tang Zheng benefits? He worked hard to refine the life-continuing pill, and he has indeed received the due return. Seeing him make a move for Tang Zheng and not stingy with his praise, Yika said with a heavy face, Do you want us to be spendthrifts and bid for all of them at a sky-high price? The old man bid 1 billion to succeed. If other people bid less than this price, it would not be justified. In other words, Tang Zheng's wealth would increase by a large amount for no reason. Song Yu and Yika thought about it and fell short of breath. This was too easy for him. But what can they do? They can only watch Tang Zheng make a lot of money every day. No, this was billions. It was simply the world's most profitable business. The fifth life continuing pill has been put on the stage. Song Yu directly called a price of 500 million, and then looked around like a tiger eyeing its prey. However, this time he found that many people's eyes were very eager, and they did not have the intention to give up. 500 million. This life continuing pill will be bought by the Song family. Song Yu arbitrarily announced. The meaning of the threat was clear. Your Song family already has one. Don't you want to give others a way to live? I will bid 600 million. A middle-aged rich man with a big belly said indignantly. Yes, we want a fair auction. The highest price gets it. Someone echoed. The attraction of a life continuing pill was too big, even suppressing their fear of the Song family. Song Yu heard the words, and his face was ashen. In front of so many people, he was somewhat embarrassed. He bitterly swept his eyes at the few people who spoke. Several people deliberately avoided his gaze, but in their hearts, they did not give up. Yin Luyun and Yi Ke's hearts were dark. Their wishful thinking had no chance to start. This time, they were afraid that they would really have to bid a sky-high price. You really want to bid 600 million? Song Yu gritted his teeth and asked. Of course. The middle-aged rich man mustered up his courage and said, Well, very good, but I advise you, the life-continuing pill is not omnipotent. Don't let the life-continuing pill become a death sentence. Song Yu said with a smile. The middle-aged rich man was shocked. He gritted his teeth and waited, but still did not give up. Seeing that his threat did not work, Song Yu was forced to raise the price. 700 million, 1 billion. The middle-aged tycoon hesitated for a moment and shouted loudly, directly raising the price of the previous one. Song Yu clenched his teeth so hard that they were about to shatter. Seeing him in a dilemma, Tang Zheng's heart blossomed with joy. Chapter 482. Everyone looked towards the entrance and saw that these people had an extraordinary aura. They walked straight to the main stage and loudly said, The auction is over. Everyone leave. What? Everyone thought they heard wrong. These people rushed in and announced the end of the auction. What the hell was going on? The organizers' people quickly went up to negotiate. The other guests were even more indignant. These rich people were not willing to suffer losses. Moreover, there were still 6 life continuing pills left. How could they leave just like that? Who are you people? What right do you have to tell us to leave? Someone unhappily asked. That's right. How dare you be so arrogant here? Capture them. Someone angrily said. Some of the rich people's bodyguards were already ready to move. They were waiting for their employer's order to flip these people over. The 3 young masters frowned at the same time. They looked at each other and shook their heads. They did not know who these people were. However, Tang Zheng saw 2 familiar faces among them. Xing Feng and Kai Guibin. He already knew that they had formed a new organization called the Dragon Group. They even had a conflict with the Thundercloud Beast and had captured a Flame Bird. Their strength was not ordinary. The Dragon Group broke into the auction. What were they doing here? Tang Zheng muttered in his heart. He was slightly angry. This was related to his accumulation of funds. How could it be disrupted like this? The organizer was negotiating with Xing Feng in a low voice. Xing Feng had an arrogant expression on his face. The organizer lowered his head and announced, I'm sorry, everyone. This auction ends here. Please go back. What the hell? The auction is not over yet. How can it be over? Are you playing with us? Someone directly stood up and angrily said. The organizer looked at Xing Feng helplessly with a troubled expression. Xing Feng coldly snorted and waved his hand. You don't want to leave? Throw him out. One of the underlings walked towards the rich man. The rich man's bodyguard immediately stood up. However, before he could make a move, he was hit in the chest and flew out. He spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. The rich man was dragged out of the door like a dead dog. The others looked at all of this in shock. These were all people with status, yet these people actually treated them like this. They were going too far. Many people slapped their chairs and stood up. The crowd was agitated. "Who are you? How dare you behave so atrociously here?" Xing Feng sneered in disdain. "Don't think that you can act all high and mighty just because you have some money. You're worthless before me. Didn't you ask who we are? Let me tell you, listen well. We're the Dragon Group. Remember this clearly. If you want to get back your face, we will accompany you anytime. Now scram." Xing Feng's aura was overwhelming. His voice was loud and resonant, causing people's minds to tremble. In the capital, the only people who dared to be so arrogant, other than the few great clans, were those with official backgrounds. No one present was an idiot. They immediately guessed that the other party must have an official status. As the saying goes, civilians do not fight with officials. No matter how rich a person was, he would not dare to go head-to-head with an official. Many people who had originally raised their necks immediately shrunk back. Their proud and straight bodies immediately drooped down. One after another, the soles of their feet were smeared with oil, and they slipped away. But some people did not slip away. The three young masters were one of them. If the people of the three great clans also left with their tails between their legs, then wouldn't it ruin their own reputation? Song Yu stood up and went straight to Xing Feng. She asked, "How come I haven't heard of the Dragon Group?" Xing Feng glanced at Song Yu and said with a smile, "It turned out to be young Master Song. Nice to meet you. The Dragon Group was established not long ago, but in the future, the name of the Dragon Group will definitely be heard by everyone." Yin Luyun and Yi Ku also came to Xing Feng. Even if the other party had an official background, they still had to ask for an explanation. After all, the life-continuing pill was not an ordinary auction item. If they passed this village, they may not have this shop. Why did the Dragon Group stop the auction? Yin Luyun asked in a deep voice. Xing Feng mysteriously said, "I advise the three of you that each of you has already obtained a life-continuing pill. Don't overdo it and leave on your own." The three people's hearts thumped, and they secretly thought that this was not good. These people were also here for the life-continuing pill. In other words, since the beginning of the auction, the news of the life-continuing pill had reached the ears of the other party, so they came to intercept. The officials were also interested in the life-continuing pill. In fact, thinking about it carefully, the rich people had an infinite desire for life, and the people with power were even more so. Otherwise, why would so many ancient emperors pursue the path of longevity at all costs? Although the life-continuing pill was not equivalent to longevity, it would give more than 10 years of life. This was a temptation that no one could refuse. The three people's hearts were bitter, and they secretly lamented that it was a pity. They were too conservative before and even arrogant. They thought that with their family's strength and influence, they would be able to win and get the life-continuing pill. Unexpectedly, there were unexpected winds and clouds, and the officials were also interested in the life-continuing pill. This matter was big. Even if it was the three great clans, they may not be able to get the 6 life-continuing pills. They were unwilling. Yiku said, "We each got 1 life-continuing pill. It is too little." Xing Feng sneered, "Humph, humph, it is already a lot. How can this kind of elixir be spread out casually? Wouldn't the world be in chaos? Of course, it should be nationalized. In this world, even the gold, silver, jewelry, and antiques dug out from their own ancestral home would be nationalized. The life-continuing pill, this kind of heaven-defying existence. How could the officials easily let it go?" When the three people heard this, they wanted to refute, but they had no way to do so. They could only turn to look at Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng heard their conversation clearly, but his face was expressionless. This change was indeed beyond his expectations. He did not expect that the temptation of a life-continuing pill would be so great that it would arouse the interest of the officials. However, he did not panic, but instead looked at Xing Feng with interest. When they first met in Dianan, Tang Zheng made Xing Feng eat a big loss. Even if he now established the Dragon Group, Tang Zheng did not have the slightest fear. Xing Feng walked over to Tang Zheng and stood in front of him. He jokingly said, "Tang Zheng, we meet again." Yes, this world is really small. It is very small. Let me ask you, how many life-continuing pills do you have? Xing Feng arrogantly asked. He did not believe that Tang Zheng would take out all the life-continuing pills to auction. No comment. Tang Zheng said coldly. You disrupted my auction. Does that mean you won't buy my life-continuing pill? I'm here to tell you that from this moment on, your life-continuing pill no longer belongs to you. Xing Feng said in a resounding voice. Not only did Tang Zheng frown when he heard this, but even Yin Luyin and the other two young masters' faces sank. They really did not expect Xing Feng's attitude to be so bad. This was an open robbery of the life-continuing pill. Tang Zheng was not an ordinary person. Was it so easy to rob? Yin Luyun said in his heart that things were bad. He was afraid that this matter would become big. Song Yu and Yika looked at each other, and their eyes lit up. If the Dragon Group and Tang Zheng were to fight, then they would be very happy to see this result. I don't understand the meaning of your words. I'll have to trouble you to explain. Tang Zheng said calmly. Since you already know the answer, then I will tell you clearly that the life-continuing pill has been confiscated by the country and no longer belongs to you. Xing Feng said coldly. Tang Zheng had seen a lot, but he had never seen such a shameless person. This was clearly the behavior of a robber, but he was still so unscrupulous. What if I don't give it to you? Tang Zheng suppressed his anger and asked. Xing Feng murderously said, This is not up to you. After that, he looked at Tang Zheng with ridicule. Chapter 483. Both sides were on the verge of breaking out into a war. Kai Guibin and Tang Zheng were old acquaintances, and he was the second in command of the Dragon Group. Of course, he didn't want to see the Dragon Group and Tang Zheng go to war, so he quickly said, Tang Zheng, don't be impatient. The life-continuing pill is a miraculous medicine, and if it enters the market, it will have a negative impact. Moreover, you have given the life-continuing pill to the country, so the country will not forget you. Tang Zheng gave a fake smile and said, I won't forget. Your words are really nice. Let me tell you guys, other people are using real gold and silver to exchange for the life-continuing pill and are not taking it by force. If you want the life-continuing pills, then compete fairly. I won't have any complaints. Right now, the life-continuing pills are being auctioned for 1 billion each. As long as you can take out 6 billion, then these 6 life-continuing pills will be yours. Kai Guibin resentfully said, Tang Zheng, you can't just look at money. There are some things that money can't measure. Tang Zheng didn't appreciate it at all. Right now, I only care about money. If you want to talk to me about unrealistic selfless contributions, then I advise you to give up on that idea. Xing Feng angrily shouted, Why are you still talking so much nonsense with him? Since he is so stubborn, then don't waste your breath on him. This life-continuing pill will not only not prolong your life, but will also hasten your death. Seeing that they were about to make a move, the king angrily shouted, Stop! Do you know that this is a crime? Is there still any law? Law. Let me tell you, the Dragon Group is the law. Xing Feng disdainfully said, I will report your problem to the higher-ups. Be careful, or you won't be able to bear the consequences. Do as you wish. Xing Feng didn't care at all. The king of medicine was so angry that his face and neck turned red. He had some friendship with the officials, and these officials often invited him to recuperate. Over time, he had some feelings for them. Fine, then you wait. The king of medicine clenched his teeth and said, If you want to complain, then go ahead. Now it's time for us to make a move. Xing Feng gave a look to his left and right. Immediately, several of his men surrounded Tang Zheng and Huang Xiang. Song Yu and Yi Ku also did not mean to leave. Instead, they stood aside and watched this scene with great interest. Yin Luyun looked anxious and advised, Wait a moment. Let's talk nicely. Why do we need to make such a big fuss? Young Master Yin, it's best not to get involved in some things. Otherwise, you'll get yourself into trouble, and the losses will outweigh the gains. Xing Feng did not give him any face at all. Yin Liuyun's eyes flashed with anger. He took a deep breath and said, The life-continuing pill originally belonged to Tang Zheng. You want to take it for yourself with just a few words? How can there be such logic in this world? I have such a theory here. You. Yin Luyan was speechless. This was really a scholar encountering a soldier. The key was that the other party did not intend to reason with them. They were determined to take it by force. Tang Zheng cupped his hands toward Yin Luyan and said, "Young Master Yin, I appreciate your kindness. I'll take it later. I'll trouble you to protect the king of medicine. Since they are bullying people like this, there is nothing to talk about. I don't want to talk to you." "Do it," Xing Feng ordered, and 10 of his men moved together. One by one, huge fists went straight to Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng did not move, but Huang Zhang had already moved like a ghost. The ghost head blade directly slashed at several people. Puff! A man's arm was directly cut off. Blood flowed out, and he staggered to the ground. Xing Feng shouted with a sullen face, "Evolve!" Roar, roar, roar. One by one, his men roared. The blood vessels in their bodies were about to explode. Their bones were also crackling. In an instant, they had all grown 30 centimeters taller. Their bodies had also become exceptionally strong and sturdy. The hair on their bodies had also become a lot more exuberant. Hiss! Seeing this, everyone could not help but gasp. It was the first time they had seen this kind of thing. They were very surprised. But one thing was for sure. After these people evolved, the aura they emitted was completely different. Their fighting strength had obviously increased by more than one level. These people are all martial artists, but they are all in the Hotian realm. But the aura they emit is completely different from that of a Hotian realm martial artist. Tang Zheng could not accurately judge the opponent's strength, but he did not dare to lower his guard. This dragon group indeed had some skills. No wonder they were so arrogant. The key was that this kind of evolution was different from the cultivation of martial artists and cultivators. It had already exceeded the scope of both. How'd they do it? Tang Zheng could not understand. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. When these fists struck Huang Xiang's ghost head blade, Huang Xiang actually retreated a few steps, and the other party's fists followed like a shadow, attacking in front of him. Tang Zheng stomped on the ground, roared, and punched out with both of his fists, like an angry dragon emerging from the sea. The two of them each took a punch and flew backwards, while the other party's fist also arrived in front of Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng did not dodge, but instead straightened his body, and before the other party's strength reached its peak, he collided with the other party's fist. The effects of the primal Kas Vajra spell erupted, and Tang Zheng was like a steel bar with iron bones. He forcefully took a few punches, but he was completely fine, and his fist once again swung out like lightning. 2 more people were hit and fell to the ground. Tang Zheng's attacks were very fast and accurate. As long as he took a punch, he would immediately lose his fighting strength. Huang Xiang also joined the battle. The two of them worked together, and their fighting strength was off the charts. Not long later, more than 10 members of the dragon group fell to the ground one after another. Xing Feng watched this scene with his mouth agape. He couldn't help but feel a little regretful. He had come in such a hurry today that he didn't even bring his equipment. He only brought a few subordinates. Originally, he thought that with the fighting strength of his 10 or so subordinates, even if they couldn't kill Tang Zheng, they could at least teach him a lesson. After all, these subordinates were not ordinary people, but super warriors that had been modified by genetic drugs. The super warrior was an important project that the military had been researching for a long time, but there had been no progress all these years. It was only when the werewolves appeared in the martial arts assembly that the military brought back the werewolves' corpses for research that the super warrior project finally made progress. They extracted a type of genetic medicine from the werewolves' bodies. This genetic medicine could strengthen a person's body and greatly increase their fighting strength. Later on, the military captured a few demonic beasts from southern Yunnan, which allowed the research to progress even faster. In the end, the genetic medicine was perfected and reached the stage of clinical application. However, there was a flaw in these genetic medicines, and that was that the target of the genetic medicines had to be a strong person. Otherwise, they would not be able to withstand the side effects of the genetic modification and would directly die on the spot. Currently, the super warriors of the Dragon Group were all elites in the military. They were outstanding in all aspects, which was why they were able to survive. Tang Zheng looked at Xing Feng with a murderous look and said, "You want to snatch my life-continuing pill with just these people? You're too naive." Xing Feng's mouth and tongue were dry as he said, "Don't be complacent. Do you think the Dragon Group only has this much ability? You're thinking too simply of the Dragon Group. Then I'll give it a try." No matter who the other party was, Tang Zheng would not let go of anyone who interfered in broad daylight to snatch his life-continuing pill. Thus, Tang Zheng's feet slipped as he stretched out his hand and grabbed Xing Feng's neck. Xing Feng's eyes were sharp and his hands were fast. He took out a small handgun from his bosom and pulled the trigger. Tang Zheng hurriedly dodged as the bullet was about to fly past his face. Suddenly, bang! The bullet exploded beside his ear as an electric light flashed. An electric net shot out from the bullet and covered Tang Zheng's head. Tang Zheng was caught off guard as his head was immediately covered by the electric net. The electric current flowed through his body and a burnt smell floated up from Tang Zheng's body. Tang Zheng roared as he circulated his qi to resist the powerful electric current. He grabbed the electric net and threw it to the side. Only then did he feel relieved, but he was completely enraged. Raising his head, Xing Feng's figure had actually disappeared. This fellow did not have the extravagant hope that this bullet would be able to get rid of Tang Zheng. Instead, he took this opportunity to escape. Tang Zheng wanted to chase after him, but Kai Guibin stopped him and advised, "Tang Zheng, wait a moment. There's no need to chase after him. Since he has escaped, then he definitely won't let you catch up." Tang Zheng coldly snorted and said, "Captain Kai, don't you feel embarrassed walking together with such a shameless person?" During the military training, Tang Zheng's impression of Kai Guibin was not bad, so he did not make a move against him. Kai Guibin resentfully said, "This is an order from above. As a soldier, I can only carry it out. I have no other choice." Although Kai Guibin did not agree with many of Xing Feng's actions, but he was after all the adjutant, and Xing Feng was the leader. Kai Guibin could not influence Xing Feng's decisions. If you hang around with this kind of person, sooner or later you will get yourself into big trouble. Tang Zheng warned, "Tang Zheng, you are the one who has provoked a huge trouble. Kai Guibin is narrow-minded and will definitely seek revenge for the smallest grievance. You have repeatedly opposed him, so he will definitely not let you off." Kai Guibin said sincerely, "Just bring it on. I will take it one by one." Tang Zheng did not care. Don't be careless. The Dragon Group is not an ordinary organization. There are many things that you cannot imagine. The life-continuing pill is indeed a miraculous medicine, but it is also a talisman that will hasten your death. You should understand the principle of treasuring a jade ring becomes a crime. That's all I have to say. Take care of yourself. Kai Guibin finished speaking and left with the injured. This auction ended without any results, but many people witnessed a turn of events that was even more exciting than the previous auction. It was truly worth the trip. Now that the troublemaker had left, the people who had left the door rushed back like a tide. They stared at Tang Zheng with complicated expressions. Just now, everyone wanted to bid for the life-continuing pill, but now that they saw the principle of treasuring a jade ring becomes a crime, many people flinched. Without a certain level of strength, ordinary people would not dare to touch this kind of godly medicine. But the three great clans were not ordinary people. Although the Dragon Group was not an ordinary organization, they could not resist their enthusiasm for the life-continuing pill. The three young masters all surrounded him. Chapter 484. Song Yu looked resentful and said, "Tang Zheng, the person who got in the way is gone. Can the life-continuing pill continue to be auctioned?" Tang Zheng smiled calmly and said, "It is not an auction, but a price that satisfies me. The life-continuing pill is naturally his." Yiko asked, "How much do you want?" "This depends on your intentions. 500 million, Song Yu said tentatively. Tang Zheng heard the words and laughed disdainfully. Young Master Song, you don't think that I'm a 3-year-old child. Easy to fool. Just now, the price has reached 1 billion, and now you are still calling for 500 million. You really have the nerve to call out. Song Yu's expression changed slightly and argued, it was different before. Now, you ask other people who still dares to touch the life-continuing pill. Although the other rich people's eyes were burning, no one really made a move. After the dragon group made such a ruckus, many people have already stayed away from the life-continuing pill. Song Yu had seen through this, which was why he only offered 500 million. Although the life-continuing pill was magical, there must be people who dare to buy it. Tang Zheng looked around and said, Young Master Song, do you really think that the influence of the dragon group is so big? If I don't sell it publicly, then sell it privately. Who do you think will find out? And how much will the price be? If sold privately, the price would definitely be more than 500 million, because the buyer would not have to bear the risk, and the dragon group would not be able to interfere. Song Yu's expression changed slightly. This move really caught her off guard. When other people heard this, their eyes became more and more eager. They said that they must contact Tang Zheng later to see if they could buy the life-continuing pill without anyone noticing. Yin Lian did not have as many small calculations as Song Yu and Yi Ke. He went straight to the point and said, Brother Tang, how much do you think is suitable? I will buy some. Tang Zheng smiled slightly and said, Young Master Yin wants to buy. You can name the price. Yin Lian had treated him well several times, so Tang Zheng naturally wouldn't make things difficult for him. Yin Lian pondered for a moment and said, How about 1 billion for one? This was already twice the price of the life-continuing pill that he had just bought. It was the same price as that old rich man who didn't have much time left. This meant that he didn't want to take advantage of Tang Zheng. Deal, Tang Zheng promised. How much do you want? Although Yin Lian wanted to buy them all, he didn't want to eat alone like other people, because eating alone would often lead to choking, which was not good. Yin Lian stretched out 2 fingers. 2. Tang Zheng took out 2 brocade boxes and handed them to the other party. The others looked at the brocade boxes with shining eyes, wishing they could snatch them away. Song Yu and Yi Ke also stared at the brocade box and gritted their teeth. Song Yu said, I also bid 1 billion. Me too. Yi Ke hurriedly echoed. Tang Zheng glanced at the 2 people disdainfully and said, The price is too low. I won't sell. What, the price is too low? The 2 thought that they had heard wrong. Wasn't Yin Liu's price? Tang Zheng, we really want to buy it. Don't play with us. Song Yu said with a bad face. Who is playing with you? I also really want to sell it. Otherwise, why would I come to the auction? Tang Zheng said plainly. Then why are you still randomly bidding? Did I randomly bid? Tang Zheng asked jokingly. It seems that you think that I don't treat everyone equally, right? Song Yu and Yi Ke were silent, apparently agreeing with this point. Tang Zheng shrugged and said, I really will tell you, I don't treat everyone equally. If you want to buy my life-continuing pill, you must follow my price, otherwise there's no need to talk. Tang Zheng's imposing manner was very domineering, exuding an indisputable temperament. The 2 people were furious and wanted to explode, but when they thought of the life-continuing pill, they swallowed their anger. Tang Zheng did not care about the other party's anger. He did not want to sell the life-continuing pill to them. Since they wanted it, it was not impossible. But if he did not let them bleed and make them feel distressed, then he would not be called Tang Zheng. Then you name a price. Song Yu's teeth almost broke as she asked. Tang Zheng stretched out 2 fingers. 2 billion. What? In the blink of an eye, the price doubled. Why don't you just rob? Song Yu sucked in a breath of cold air and flew into a rage. I just name a price. Whether you want to buy or not is your business. I will not force you. How can it be called robbing? Tang Zheng sneered. Song Yu and Yi Ke looked at each other. Their hearts were angry and helpless. Only Tang Zheng had the life-continuing pill in his hands, so he had the indisputable right to set the price. Yin Lian looked at Tang Zheng gratefully. There is no doubt that Tang Zheng sold him 1 billion for one life, continuing pill at a price of friendship. When others heard this price, many people were ready to move, whispering, although this price was equivalent to a sky-high price, how much value could a person create in more than 10 years of life? For these people, it was not impossible to create more than $2 billion in wealth in more than 10 years. So even if it was somewhat expensive, it was worth it. Some people had already made up their minds to privately find Tang Zheng to buy the life continuing pill at a price of $2 billion. Song Yu and Yi Ku also understood this truth. Although they knew that Tang Zheng was taking the opportunity to raise the price, they did not have the ability to resist. Moreover, Yin Luyan bought the life continuing pill at a low price, but they had to pay a high price. What did this mean? This showed that their face was not as useful as Yin Luyan. This was the Yin family once again compared to them. In the eyes of others, the Yin family's name would be more resounding. This was simply a slap in their face, and in fact, it made them eat a big loss. Therefore, Song Yu and Yi Ku's expressions were not very good. They stared at Tang Zheng, but Tang Zheng was not afraid at all. He looked at the other party with ridicule. The atmosphere became unusually oppressive. After a long time, Song Yu gritted her teeth and said, "Well, I promise you, at the price of $2 billion, I will buy two. I will also buy two." Yi Ku was not willing to fall behind and resolutely agreed. Tang Zheng's mouth hooked up a small arc and said, "You can also not buy. I am not forcing you. We are willing." The two people's teeth fell, and they swallowed it into their stomachs. When other people saw this, they showed disappointment. In this way, the life-continuing pills were almost all occupied by the three major families. But no one could do anything about it. This society was such a world of the weak and strong. No one dared to challenge the three major families. Everyone left gloomily. Tang Zheng completed the handover with the buyer. His account suddenly had $12.5 billion in cash, which made him have an illusion. It turned out that money was so easy for him. Song Yu and Yi Ku took the life-continuing pills and left with black faces. Yin Luyan stayed and looked at Tang Zheng quite enthusiastically. He said, "Brother Tang, today you really shine. There will be more and more legends about you in the capital. Your name has completely overshadowed us." Yin Luyan was quite glad in his heart. He bought the golden jade purple clothes for $20 million and gave it to Tang Zheng. This business was really worth it. Using $20 million, he saved billions. This was something that no one expected in advance. He couldn't help but be glad for the old man's decision. The older the ginger, the spicier it was. The old man looked further than anyone else. He firmly stood on Tang Zheng's side. In the blink of an eye, he brought so many benefits to the Yin family. Tang Zheng smiled faintly and said, "Young Master Yin is overpraising me. How can my reputation be compared with the 4 young masters of the capital?" "What 4 young masters of the capital? That's just a bunch of busybodies." Moreover, Chu Xiaofeng dared to call himself one of the 4 young masters of the capital. It's simply an insult to others. I don't want to be associated with him. Yin Luyan said contemptuously, "Brother Tang, if you have nothing to do, can you and the senior king of medicine go to the Yin family? My father would like to see you in person." Yin Luyan invited. The king of medicine looked at Tang Zheng, clearly wanting him to make the decision. Tang Zheng's heart moved. After going through so much, the Yin family still chose to be on good terms with him. Chapter 485. With a heaven-flying immortal, a stream of energy hit the golden jade amethyst robe. With a bang, the air around the golden jade amethyst robe rippled, but the golden jade amethyst robe was undamaged. Tang Zheng did not use his full strength in this attack. After all, it was to test the defensive ability of the golden jade amethyst robe. He could not use too much strength and destroy this treasure. It turned out that Tang Zheng was worrying too much. The golden jade amethyst robe was worthy of being a profound level defensive magic treasure. Tang Zheng used 3 moves in a row, each more powerful than the last. The last move had already reached Tang Zheng's limit, but it still did not break the defense of the golden jade amethyst robe. Although Tang Zheng did not use a magic treasure to attack, even if it was a bare-handed attack, the power could not be underestimated. However, the golden jade amethyst robe completely blocked it. He was overjoyed and muttered to himself, "I've picked up a treasure this time. I must put it away properly." Seeing Tang Zheng put away the golden jade amethyst robe happily, the five-clawed golden dragon said, "It's going to be the new year. Are you leaving the capital? You've been locked up here, so you know a lot about the outside world. Of course, I'm not deaf. Of course, I can hear the outside world. When you go back, leave Xiao Bai here to accompany me for the new year." Tang Zheng touched Xiao Bai on his shoulder and tactfully refused. "I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. It's not peaceful outside recently. I have to keep Xiao Bai by my side in case of any accidents." Xiao Bai was a powerful helper, and Tang Zheng was targeted by the Li Palace, Song, Yi, and Chu families. Of course, it would not be a waste to leave him with the five-clawed golden dragon. The five-clawed golden dragon was slightly disappointed and said, "A lot of people have come up here recently. It seems to be because of the big shock you caused last time, right?" Tang Zheng nodded. "That's true, but they won't connect that matter with me, so there's no need to worry. Your top priority is to quickly increase your strength and let me out," the five-clawed golden dragon urged. Tang Zheng smiled and did not comment. He quietly left the imperial city with Xiao Bai and Huang Ziang. Just as the sun rose on the horizon, Yi Qianlei's call came unexpectedly. The news of Tang Zheng auctioning the life-continuing pills had already spread in the upper circle. Many people were actively inquiring about the details. Of course, the question that everyone was most concerned about was whether he still had more life-continuing pills. Many people were even willing to pay a higher price for them. However, last night, Tang Zheng turned off his phone and stayed in the imperial city for most of the night, causing these people to go crazy. Tang Zheng, Tang, Golden Jade. Long Yi Tianlei of a life, pill, was pill of the capital. The five-clawed pill, Yi with a complex. He was someone who already knew about the life-continuing pill, but he never thought that Tang Zheng would suddenly take out so many life-continuing pills. This was truly a mess. Yi Tianlei was both shocked and overwhelmed with complex emotions. If it was his personality, he would not have done this in such a high-profile manner. "Uncle Yi, please don't laugh at me. I'm also forced to do this. I have no way to raise a large amount of money in a short period of time, so I can only do this." "Oh, what do you need money for? As far as I know, you don't lack money." Yi Tianlei was incomparably astonished. "I didn't lack money before, but now I urgently lack money. I want to expand my business and have some success in the business world. The amount of money I lack is not a small hole." Tang Zheng spoke the truth. Yi Tianlei had always been concerned about Tang Zheng's cultivation, but knew very little about his business. Hearing this, he could not help but be astonished and said, "Tang Zheng, business is not like cultivation. It involves a lot more and is much more complicated. If you're not careful, all your money will go down the drain." It wasn't that he doubted Tang Zheng's strength, but that his previous performance in this area was nothing to write home about. Hearing that, Tang Zheng did not get angry, but instead felt grateful. Yi Tianlei spoke the truth, and this was true concern for him. "Thank you, Uncle Yi. I know what I am capable of. Right now, Mu Hongyan is the one who is in charge of the overall situation for me. I am just a shopkeeper who does nothing." Tang Zheng explained. "Mu Hongyan?" Yi Tianlei was shocked. He knew that Tang Zheng and Mu Hongyan had interacted before, but he did not pay too much attention to it. He never thought that Tang Zheng would actually poach Mu Hongyan. Even the business genius of a long family was poached by you. Then my worries are unnecessary. I will wait and see, 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 Wait and see. Wait for your business empire to be like your cultivation. Amazing, everyone. Thank you, Uncle Yi. Tang Zheng, I still have something I want to ask you. Suddenly, Yi Tianlei became hesitant. Do you still have the life-continuing pill? Tang Zheng's heart moved and said, Uncle Yi, it's not you who wants to ask, but someone else who wants to know, right? Hee, I can't hide anything from you. The old man heard about the auction, so he wanted me to ask about it. Tang Zheng coldly laughed. Yi Xuanji was the one who understood the miraculous effects of the life-continuing pill the most. If not for the life-continuing pill, his soul would have already flown to the horizon. Thus, it was not surprising that he valued this godly medicine more than anyone else. If you ask me, I will tell you that I still have the life-continuing pill. If anyone else asks, then I don't have it for now. Tang Zheng said. Yi Tianlei was slightly startled and immediately understood what Tang Zheng meant. He was differentiating Yi Tianlei from the Ye family, and the Ye family had already been placed on the opposite side. Yi Tianlei secretly sighed. Originally, the Ye family and Tang Zheng could have been very close, but who would have thought that it would come to this? I understand. I will tell the old man that the life-continuing pill is temporarily out of stock. Yi Tianlei understood tacitly and said, However, I still have to remind you that there are many people who have their eyes on the life-continuing pill. You are Tang Zheng's meat, so you should be careful. What are you saying so much nonsense for, little handsome brother? Your final exam is already over. Before we go back to ordinary balance, we must meet up. Ding ding, that girl has been talking about you. Feng Xinyang grabbed the phone and impatiently said, Aunt Feng, I am not welcome in the Ye family. If I go, it will only add to the awkwardness. Tang Zheng said, You don't need to come to the house. We will go outside to meet. I stay in this house all day, and I am about to go crazy. Feng Xinyang said bluntly, How is Ding Dong's injury? It's not too big of a problem, but she is lovesick, so she has been frowning all day. Cough, cough. Tang Zheng awkwardly coughed, as he did not know how to respond. Why are you telling this to the child? Yi Tianlei mumbled. What do you know? If you, as the father, don't fight for it, am I, as the mother, going to turn a blind eye? Feng Xinyang argued. Tang Zheng was well aware of Feng Xinyang's personality and hurriedly said, Before I go back, I will find time to see Ding Dang. With that, he hurriedly hung up the phone. When he returned to Lu Qingmei's apartment, a person was already waiting for him. Wu walked straight towards him and said straightforwardly, The dragon group has set their sights on you. It is extremely dangerous. You better return to the martial sect with me immediately. Tang Zheng rolled his eyes and said, You really don't want to give up? I told you I won't go to the martial sect. The Dragon Group is a new organization established by the authorities. Not only do they have all kinds of new weapons, they have also made a major breakthrough in the area of super warriors. Don't look at how you defeated those super warriors yesterday. That is not their true strength. They are much more powerful than you think. Wu said in a deep voice. Tang Zheng's expression darkened and said, You have investigated very clearly. Are you saying that the people I defeated yesterday were super warriors? What exactly is going on with them? After meeting the Dragon Group last time, Wu had conducted a detailed investigation of the Dragon Group. In the end, he discovered that this newly established organization was not as simple as he had imagined. All these years, the three great organizations were able to be so mysterious and have such a strong influence. Even the officials had no choice but to submit to them. That was because there were no experts in the officials who could contend against them. After all, this country had only been established for a few decades. The true experts were all hidden and monopolized by the three great organizations or the great families. There was no lack of martial artists in the government, but there were no top experts, so the government had always been passive. Many years ago, the government had started the Super Warrior plan, but there had been no breakthrough. This time, the Super Warrior had finally succeeded, which also marked the weakening of the influence of the three great organizations and the great families on the government. After Wu found out about this detail, he realized that he had truly underestimated the Dragon Group. The Dragon Group was an organization that the government had prepared to contend against and fight against the other forces. The super warrior is an expert created in a short period of time by the government using the genes of demon beasts to modify humans. Although this kind of expert has yet to reach the peak and is unable to compare to a true expert at the peak of martial arts, in the future, when they have greater research results, it is not impossible for the super warrior's strength to rise to the next level and reach the peak. When Tang Zheng heard this, he was shocked. To be honest, he did not put the Dragon Group in his eyes before, but now that he heard Wu's words, he realized that he had been too careless. The government was not as weak as he had imagined. They had always been looking for ways to break the balance between them and the various major powers. This time, the super warrior was the key to breaking the balance. They had firmly grasped onto this key. The government could not launch a fatal attack on the Dragon Group at this time, because it would cause unrest in the country. This was a serious consequence that no one could bear. Therefore, everyone had to show their abilities under a stable premise. The one who laughed until the end would be the true victor. This is truly a big game of chess. Tang Zheng sighed. Therefore, the appearance of your life, continuing pill, is a fatal temptation to the government. No matter what, they will use all sorts of methods to obtain the life, continuing pill. Only by going to the martial sect can you obtain the best protection. Wu took the opportunity to advise. Chapter 486. Wu bit her lips and looked at Tang Zheng with a complicated expression. She never thought that he would be so stubborn. Even in the face of such great difficulty, he would not compromise and was unwilling to go to the martial sect. Seeing Tang Zheng turn around and leave, Wu did not chase after him. Her mind raced, and in the end, she realized that she was still unable to complete the mission given to her by the sect master. She really had no way of bringing Tang Zheng back to the martial sect. That day, she left the capital and returned to the martial sect. From afar, she saw the sect leader's wife, Lan Yu. She hurriedly shouted respectfully, "Mistress!" Lan Yu was still beautiful, even more enchanting than a blooming flower in spring. She smiled like a flower and said, "Marshal, you're back. What mission did your master ask you to carry out? Furthermore, your master has become a little strange since he came back last time. He doesn't want to say anything and has been in closed-door cultivation." Wu's heart skipped a beat as he asked, "Master is in closed-door cultivation?" "Yes, I think he seems to have encountered some kind of problem and has become silent. Even I am not willing to say much," Lan Yu said suspiciously. Wu asked tentatively, "Mistress, there is a question that has been hidden in my heart for a long time. I have not had the chance to ask for so many years. I wonder if Mistress can help me solve my doubts?" Lan Yu lovingly touched her hand and smiled. "I practically raised you single-handedly. You're just like my daughter. What questions can a daughter ask her mother?" Wu revealed a rare smile and said, "Mistress, I will never forget your kindness to me for the rest of my life." "Silly girl, go ahead and ask." "Mistress, I heard that you and Master once had a child." Hearing this, Lan Yu's smile quickly disappeared and she became incomparably sorrowful. "Marshal, why do you want to ask this question?" Wu's heart tightened as he said nervously, "Mistress, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have asked this question." Lan Yu shook her head and said, "It was too long ago. If you didn't mention it, I would have forgotten about it." Although she said that, it was clear that she had not forgotten about this matter. "Your master and I once had a son. If he was born in another family, he would definitely be happy and healthy, a lively and cute child. However, he was born in the wrong family and went out to the martial sect. His fate became a tragedy." Lan Yu sank into her memories, and a deep pain appeared between her brows. "Why do you say that? Having parents like Master's wife and Master should be his fortune, right?" Wu Dawei did not understand. "Wrong. Having parents like us is his greatest misfortune. We brought him into this world not long ago, but in the end, we erased him from this world." Tears flickered in Lan Yu's eyes, and her emotions fluctuated greatly. Marshall's heart stirred as he asked, "Could it be that something unexpected happened to him?" Unfortunate? It's because some people couldn't tolerate a little baby like him and actually tried to kill him, while some people couldn't even protect their own sons. What a coward. Lan Yu's eyes burst with sparks of hatred. Marshall was shocked. Could it be that they were talking about her master? Could it be that his master had personally killed his own son? Wu was greatly shocked by his own thoughts, and a look of panic appeared on his face. He hurriedly comforted himself that it couldn't be like this, that he was just imagining things. Master's wife, Master's martial arts are strong. How could he not be able to protect his child? Wu asked nervously. What's the use of having a high level of martial arts? He listens to that person's every command and doesn't even have the courage to resist. Who is Master obedient to? Wu had never seen anyone with such prestige. Even the few elders of the martial sect did not dare to be careless towards their master, especially the great clan elder, who was the trusted aide of the previous sect master. However, he did not dare to give his master any face. The previous sect leader? Wu's heart skipped a beat. He finally guessed a bit. If there was anyone in this world who could make his master obey, then it could only be the previous martial sect leader who had already passed away. Could it be that the previous sect leader wanted to kill the child of his master and mistress? Why was that? Wu was confused. Wu asked suspiciously, "Mistress, could it be that you're talking about the previous sect leader?" Seeing that she had guessed it, Lan Yu did not hide it and coldly snorted. Who else could it be other than him? That old thing actually tried to kill my newborn son for a groundless reason. Lan Yu's eyes burst out with intense flames of hatred. Wu was shocked. Master's wife bluntly called the previous sect leader an old thing. It seemed that the conflict between the two was not ordinary. However, this also aroused Wu Qianglia's curiosity. Even if there were too many secrets that could not be revealed to outsiders, she still wanted to understand the truth of the matter. "Mistress, why would the old sect leader do such a cruel thing to a baby?" Lan Yu stared straight at Wu and asked, "Wu, why do I feel that you're a little strange today? Why did you think of asking this question?" "I was just asking on a whim." Lan Yu shook his head and said, "I raised you since you were young. How could I not understand you? Are you hiding something from me?" After he finished speaking, his eyes were bright and full of expression, giving off a feeling that he could see through one's heart. Wu panicked and hurriedly covered it up. "Mistress, why would I hide it from you?" "Hee, you still want to lie to me? If you don't say it, I could directly go to your master and ask." "You've never hidden anything from him since you were young. I believe he will definitely know," Lan Yu said. "Don't go looking for master." Wu couldn't help but regret his curiosity. Regarding the matter of Tang Zheng, since his master had kept everyone else in the dark, there must be a reason for it. If mistress were to personally ask, and master refused to tell her, then the already fragile relationship between the two of them would become fragmented. As someone who had been with them for dozens of years, Wu was naturally clear about the relationship between the two of them. Although the two of them were husband and wife, there was not much difference in the eyes of ordinary people. In reality, the relationship between the two of them was extremely tense, and they had been separated for many years. Wu did not want to make things difficult for his master, nor did he want his married life to be affected because of this. Moreover, she thought of another possibility. Since master could not let Tang Zheng willingly return to the martial sect, what would happen if mistress were to make a move? With that thought, hope reignited in Wu's heart. Since that was the case, then telling mistress about this might allow things to turn around. Even if her master scolded her in the future, she would willingly accept it. "Mistress, there's something I want to tell you. Take a look at this photo first." Wu opened a photo on his phone. It was Tang Zheng. Lan Yu looked at the photo in a daze and asked suspiciously, "Who is he?" "His name is Tang Zheng, and he's a cultivator." Wu stared at her, hoping to catch the slightest change in her expression. "Cultivator?" Lan Yu frowned suspiciously and said solemnly, "Wu, show him to me. Who exactly is he? It can't be as simple as a cultivator, right?" "Mistress, the missions I've been carrying out these past few days are all related to him. He's a newly risen cultivator, and his strength is already higher than mine." "How is that possible?" Under your master's nurturing, it took you so many years to achieve what you have today. But he is a cultivator. In the current situation where cultivators are facing such a huge predicament, how could he have such a high cultivation? Lan Yu questioned. Although she usually did not care about the affairs of the martial sect, she was naturally not unfamiliar with the situation of cultivators. I don't understand either. Maybe he's the legendary genius cultivator who was born for cultivation. The first time I saw him, he was still very weak, but a few months later, he surpassed me. I can't explain the whole story, and according to the investigation, he hasn't even been cultivating for a full year. What? Not even a year? Lan Yu was shocked, disbelief hanging between her brows. Impossible. How can there be such a cultivation genius in this world? Wu also didn't want to believe it, but the truth was right in front of her, and she had no choice but to believe it. But this is absolutely true, Li Tianlan said. Lan Yu's brows furrowed tighter and tighter. Although this was inconceivable, she knew that Wu would not lie to her, so she continued to ask, Wu, why didn't your master kill such a genius? I don't know either, but the sect master's order is to let him return to the martial sect willingly. Also, he has a jade pendant with the word martial engraved on it. The sect master said that it belongs to the martial sect. Jade pendant. This jade pendant is the most precious treasure of the martial sect. Only the sect master and the successor of the sect master have the qualifications to wear it. Back then, it was lost in your master's hands, and because of this, he was almost expelled from the martial sect by that old man. How could it be on a cultivator? Could it be that master put it on him back then? Wu thought of a possibility and said hurriedly. Lan Yu's expression changed greatly, turning pale white, her body also trembling. She grabbed Wu's hand and said, You're saying that it might be your master who put it on him? Seeing master's wife's huge reaction, Wu was shocked and said resentfully, This is only my guess. Only master knows what the real situation is. Lan Yu's heart was in turmoil. Scenes after scenes of memories flashed through her mind like a movie. That year, it was after that incident that he lost that jade pendant. That jade pendant had always been worn by him, and he would not even take it off when he bathed or slept. Why would he lose it for no reason? Back then, I was immersed in the pain of losing my son, so I did not notice this abnormal situation. No, what happened back then was definitely not that simple. I must find him and ask him clearly. Lan Yu's heart rose and fell as she thought silently. Seeing that his wife's expression was changing and becoming more and more agitated, Wu hurriedly asked, Mistress, what happened to you? Lan Yu hurriedly said, Send this photo to me immediately. I want to ask your master clearly. Isn't master in closed-door cultivation? No one is to disturb him. Wu said worriedly. Chapter 487. When Wu saw the fierce side of his master's wife, he still tried his best to persuade her. Mistress, master has ordered us to take revenge on this matter. If you go and denounce him, it will be bad if it causes an uproar. Lan Yu suddenly stopped in his tracks, his expression fluctuating as he thought to himself, although that old man is dead, he still has a lot of fans in the martial sect. The great clan elder was once his trusted aide. If my poor son really didn't die, then wouldn't it be a huge disaster if they found out? Lan Yu's heart trembled. He turned around and stared at Wu, asking, Where is Tang Zheng? He's still in the capital for the time being. Immediately, take me to see him. Lan Yu ordered impatiently. Wu asked nervously, Mistress, could it be that Tang Zheng is your son? Lan Yu bit his lips, hesitated for a moment, and said, I don't know either, but since he has that jade pendant on him, then I must investigate and get to the bottom of it. Wu's emotions became extremely complicated. Although she had already guessed that this would happen, when she was about to confirm it, she was unable to determine whether this matter was good or bad. The martial sect had always taken hunting cultivators as their responsibility, and in the end, the son of the martial sect master was also a cultivator. Wasn't this a huge irony? Of course, Wu could not bear to see the reputation of the martial sect damaged and his master's reputation destroyed. However, she could not wait to find out the whole story. If Tang Zheng was really the son of her master and mistress, then wouldn't a family reunion be the happiest thing in the world? Wu was an orphan. Although she was raised by her master and mistress since she was young, she did not have her own real parents after all. Occasionally, she would urgently wish that her biological parents were by her side. Therefore, after weighing the pros and cons, she was inclined to let the family reunite. Mistress, if Tang Zheng is really your master's child, then what should we do? Is he a cultivator? Wu asked tentatively. So what if he's a cultivator? That was how that old man concluded that my child couldn't practice martial arts, but was a genius in cultivating magic. That was why he couldn't tolerate an infant. Now, no matter who it is, if they dare to harm my child, I will fight them to the end, even if I have to give up my life. Lan Yu said aggressively. Looking at the resolute Lan Yu, Wu could not help but feel a little envious of Tang Zheng. If he really was his master's child, then he would be the happiest child in the world to have a mother like his master's wife. However, when Wu heard that the old sect leader had determined that the baby in swaddling clothes was a genius in cultivating magic, he was even more certain that Tang Zheng was that baby, because he was a genius cultivator. Without stopping, the two immediately set off for the capital. At this moment, Tang Zheng was already sitting in the Yin family's living room. Several important figures of the Yin family were gathered together, and the King of Medicine was also accompanying him. Just now, Yin Patian had personally welcomed him at the entrance. His etiquette was so high that it was truly rare. As the host and guests sat down, Tang Zheng first thanked Yin Luyan for his generous gift at the auction. Yin Patian hurriedly said that he was welcome, but in reality, it was the Yin family who had taken advantage of him. The price of the 2 life continuing pills was much cheaper than the other families. That was a huge bargain. Yin Patian looked at Tang Zheng benevolently and sighed. Truly, the waves behind the Yangtze River are pushing the waves in front. Previously, when I acknowledged you as my master in Medicine King City, I was so shocked that my old heart was about to stop. Tang Zheng laughed and said, Elder Yin is too serious. This time, you have provoked the dragon group. Xing Feng is a vile person who will seek revenge for the smallest grievance. You must be careful, Yin Patian reminded him. Seeing that he and Wu were so serious about this matter, Tang Zheng did not dare to let his guard down and nodded in agreement. Yin Patian did not expect to be able to completely rope in Tang Zheng in just a few days. This was a long-term process that was imperceptible, so he was not in a hurry. After chatting with Tang Zheng for a while, he found an excuse to leave. The King of Medicine and Yin Qishan followed him and left the hall. As a result, only Yin Qingyi and Yin Luyan were left in the hall. Yin Qingyi gave Yin Luyan a look, and Yin Luyan also found an excuse to leave. Only Tang Zheng and Yin Qingyi were left in the hall. Immediately, Tang Zheng's expression became strange. What kind of medicine was this Yin family selling in their gourd? Were they trying to use a beauty trap on him? But there was no need for a nun to use a beauty trap, right? Tang Zheng did not know whether to laugh or cry. Seeing Yin Qingyi stand up and walk towards him, he did not bat an eyelid and stared straight at her. Without a doubt, Yin Qingyi was indeed a beauty, and it was a kind of otherworldly beauty that was not tainted by the smoke and fire of the mortal world, causing one to not have the slightest bit of dirty thoughts. Can you accompany me for a walk? Yin Qingyi's red lips parted slightly, and her voice was very light, as if it was not tainted with the smell of smoke and fire. With the invitation of a beauty, if Tang Zheng mercilessly refused, it would not be justifiable. Thus, he nodded and stood up. Yin Qingyi did not say anything else and directly walked out of the door. Tang Zheng followed closely behind her and was a step behind. Looking at her back, he suddenly had a great interest in this young miss of the Yin family. She had an identity that others yearned for even in their dreams, but she did not cherish it in the slightest. She also did not do the things of a rich second generation, and instead left the mortal world to become a monk. It has to be said that she was an anomaly. Towards this kind of unusual person, Tang Zheng naturally had a desire to learn more. Yin Qingyi's steps were very slow, but each step seemed to have been measured with a ruler, Not more, not less, not even a bit off. After passing through a winding corridor and passing through a small doorway, the scene in front of them suddenly opened up. A steep cliff and snow-white clouds impressively appeared in front of them. This was the beautiful scenery of Longxiang Mountain. The Yin family occupied this piece of land with good feng shui, which really made people envious. Not far from the cliff, there was a small and exquisite Taoist temple. This temple with black bricks and black tiles was hidden in the forest. It stood next to the cliff, adding a trace of quiet and secluded feeling to the mountain forest. Is that the Taoist temple you cultivate in? Tang Zheng curiously asked. Yin Xingyi glanced at it and lightly nodded. This doesn't really match your identity. Tang Zheng joked. With Yin Xingyi's identity, even if she was to become a monk, she would not be in such a shabby little Taoist temple. It's only a place for a monk to live. As long as one has the Tao in their heart, what difference does it make whether they are big or small? Yin Xingyi lightly said, Hee, as expected of a monk, your knowledge is indeed different from us, this kind of layman. Layman? You're not necessarily too modest. You're a cultivator. How many cultivators are there in this world? I think you should know better than me. You should also understand that your identity is not simple. So how could you be a layman? But no one said that cultivators are not laymen. They are always entangled with worldly matters, unlike you who have seen through the mortal world. If you're not a layman, then what are you? Yin Xingyi looked at the clouds in the distance and said, I have not seen through the mortal world. People who cultivate the Tao in their hearts. There is no need to see through the mortal world. If you see through everything, then how can you cultivate the Tao? This Tao is the Tao of the world, and it is closely related to the mortal world. Only by understanding the mortal world can you truly cultivate the Tao. Oh, Tang Zheng exclaimed in surprise. This point was out of Tang Zheng's expectations and seemed to have a deeper meaning. There are thousands of Taos in the world. Everyone has their own Tao, and everyone's Tao is different. However, many people's Tao is too vulgar. They may not be able to understand their own Tao even if they spend their whole lives. May I ask what your Tao is? My Tao? Tang Zheng frowned. He had never thought about this question. He had experienced ups and downs along the way, but did he have a Tao? Tang Zheng really did not know the answer. You don't know? Tang Zheng nodded honestly. I'm just a vulgar person. I really don't like to ponder about these complicated and profound things. No, it's just that your Tao has not yet revealed itself. When you continue to walk step by step in the future, you will eventually comprehend your Tao. At that time, your achievements and your cultivation will rise to another level. Tang Zheng smiled bitterly. Then I'll take advantage of your auspicious words. However, you specially brought me here for more than just talking about Tao, right? Yin Xingyi withdrew her gaze from the distance and then stared at Tang Zheng. When their eyes met, Tang Zheng found that her gaze was deep. There was a kind of realm of selflessness that made people involuntarily fall into her eyes. Do you believe in fate? Yin Xingyi asked. Fate? Tang Zheng shook his head blankly. I don't know, but I do know one thing. I believe in myself. I believe that I can control my own fate with my own strength. It seems that you are very confident. You can say that. When Tang Zheng was a child, he believed that his own efforts could be exchanged for higher grades. Now he believed that hard work could increase his cultivation, and thus enhance his strength and control his own fate. Everyone has their own fate. You are the same. Since there is fate, it means that it is arranged by the heavenly Tao. Then there are traces to follow, and even know in advance. Tang Zheng laughed involuntarily and said, Your words are exactly the same as the fortune tellers on the street. I believe that if you go and do fortune telling, your business will definitely be good. Yin Xingyi acted as if she did not hear him and continued. To predict the future is to know a person's fate in advance. Oh, is there anyone in the world who has this ability? Tang Zheng asked casually. Yin Xingyi nodded seriously. Tang Zheng was stunned. He was just casually asking, why did she nod so firmly? Do you want to know your own fate? Yin Xingyi asked. Hee. Do you really want to be a fortune teller? Tang Zheng laughed involuntarily. Please answer me. Yin Qingyi was still serious. Seeing that she did not seem to be joking, Tang Zheng's smile gradually disappeared, and he looked at her suspiciously. If she was not Yin Qingyi, Tang Zheng would definitely think that he met with a scammer and immediately turn around and leave. Since she was not joking, and she said with such certainty that there was such a person who could predict the future, it meant that she knew this person, or she was this person. Tang Zheng was shocked by his own deduction. Although he was a cultivator and knew mysterious techniques, he never thought that he could predict the future, because that kind of ability was too heaven-defying. Chapter 488. Yin Qingyi looked at Tang Zheng with burning eyes. She was also taking a huge risk by saying these words. If others knew that Yin Qingyi had the ability to predict the future, then the Yin family would definitely become the target of public criticism. This was because no one was willing to see such an opponent, because they would seek benefits and avoid harm, and thus develop and grow stronger. He had to eliminate such a heaven-defying opponent before the other party grew stronger. Yin Qingyi was truly too interested in Tang Zheng. Although she could predict the future and predicted that Tang Zheng would become a character who saved tens of thousands of people from fire and water in the future, telling him at this moment was also taking a huge risk, because it was extremely likely that it would change the direction of the future. However, she still couldn't help but want to see what was so special about this future savior. Tang Zheng's expression changed a few times, and in the end he let out a long sigh and said, "Forget it. Knowing one's own destiny sounds very attractive, but if one knew one's own destiny, then what's the point of living? What's the point of living? What's the point of living? If a person's life loses the excitement of looking forward to the future, then it's fine if they don't want this kind of life." Yin Qingyi was startled. She did not expect him to reply in such a way. If an ordinary person had this chance, they would definitely be impatient to know what their future was like, and even Yin Patian would not be able to avoid it. However, Tang Zheng actually resisted the temptation. This was too precious. Yin Qingyi's calm eyes gradually lit up. He was indeed not an ordinary person. No wonder he would take on such a great responsibility in the future. Since he didn't want to know, she wouldn't take the risk to say it, in case it changed the direction of the future. However, Tang Zheng's curiosity was piqued. He sized up Yin Qingyi from head to toe, as if he wanted to see through her, but after looking at her for a long time, he still found nothing. Yin Qingyi did not have any inner strength in her body, nor did she have any innate qi fluctuations. She was just an ordinary person, but she could actually predict the future. Tang Zheng felt that it was too mysterious. How do you have the ability to predict the future? Tang Zheng could not help but ask curiously. Yin Qingyi smiled indifferently. Everyone has their own secrets, and I am no exception. Since the other party wasn't willing to say more, then Tang Zheng wouldn't pester him. After chatting for a while, he bid farewell and left. Yin Qingyi stared at Tang Zheng's back as it disappeared into the forest. She muttered to herself, "Tang Zheng, I'm really looking forward to your performance." Tang Zheng left Beijing with Nana, Huang Xiang, and Xiaobai. After getting off the plane, they went straight to ordinary balance. Mu Hongyan and the others were very busy. When they met again, Tang Zheng found that they were much more haggard. However, when they heard about the funds that Tang Zheng brought back, their haggard faces were swept away. Each of them was glowing, rubbing their hands together, and vowed to do a big job. This business empire was gradually taking shape. Tang Zheng, the hands-off shopkeeper, listened to some general reports and waved his hand, handing everyone over to them. As for how to deal with it, it was up to them to decide. Moreover, Yi Tianlei said not long ago that Mu Hongyan was a business genius. Being able to invite her to manage the overall situation was tantamount to picking up a treasure. Since it was a treasure, of course, he had to make the best use of it. Thus, he had no psychological burden as a hands-off shopkeeper. After staying in ordinary balance for 2 days, this year's winter vacation was very early. There was still some time before the new year. Tang Zheng decided to take advantage of this free time to go to the South Sea Dragon Palace. The Heaven and Earth Obsidian was of great importance. If he didn't get it, he would always feel uneasy. Reluctantly saying goodbye to his family and friends, he stepped on the plane that flew to the southernmost part of Huaxia. Whether this trip would be dangerous or not, he still couldn't predict, so he brought Huang Xiang and Xiaobai with him. If there was any danger, they could take care of each other. The spring festival had just started, but there weren't many passengers on this plane. Waiting for the plane to soar into the sky, Tang Zheng began to close his eyes to rest. The plane soared thousands of miles in the sky. The sun was shining outside the window, and occasionally white clouds floated by. The weather was very good. There was an empty seat next to Tang Zheng. Although he closed his eyes to rest, he still felt that someone was sitting next to him. He didn't take it seriously and continued to close his eyes to rest. After a long time, he faintly opened his eyes and inadvertently glanced at the seat next to him. Suddenly, he was frightened, as if he was bitten by a poisonous snake. If it wasn't for the seatbelt, he would have stood up directly. However, he quickly calmed down. His eyes slightly narrowed as he firmly warned the other party. "You're really like a ghost that won't go away. Why are you following me again?" A burst of bell-like laughter rang out. "Tang Zheng, you were so scared when you saw me. Am I that ugly? So scary?" "You're not ugly, but that doesn't mean that ugly people are scary. You're the dignified, holy maiden of Li Palace. But instead of staying in Li Palace, you're following me like a ghost. What exactly do you want to do? Do you want to kill me?" Tang Zheng asked in an unfriendly tone. On that rainy night, if not for Wu protecting him, he would have already been killed by Li Xiaotian while he was unconscious. The relationship between Tang Zheng and Li Xiaotian was very complicated. The two of them had experienced a lot together, and even in the 10,000 huge mountains, they had experienced many dangers together. It could be said that they had gone through thick and thin together. However, his wariness towards Li Xiaotian was even stronger than his wariness towards Wu. This was because Li Xiaotian was a fickle person that was hard to figure out. Her words and actions change a lot. Originally, she was still talking and laughing, but in the blink of an eye, she could kill you without even blinking. This kind of person only acted based on their own interests. This kind of person was very terrifying, because you didn't know when you would harm their interests and become their mortal enemy. Hearing Tang Zheng's unfriendly tone, Li Xiaotian laughed and said, "Yes, I really want to kill you, because you are already a huge danger factor. Moreover, you already have enmity towards me. So if I don't kill you before you are completely strong, when you become strong enough in the future, I won't be able to contend against you at all. At that time, there will be no hope for me to kill you, and at that time, it will be my bad luck. You and I were originally going to stay out of each other's way. Why are you doing this? Because you are a cultivator, and after witnessing the power of the 100 Transformation Star Lord, I understand the terror of cultivators. If we were to let cultivators return in the future, us martial artists would be in deep trouble. Actually, these were all the responsibilities of the martial sect, but did the people of the martial sect have water in their heads? Not only did they not kill you, they even helped you. However, it doesn't matter. I'll do it for them." Li Xiaotian's tone was very relaxed, without the slightest fluctuation in his emotions, as if he was talking about something that had nothing to do with him. Tang Zheng asked himself many times if he could not do what she did. No wonder she was able to become the holy maiden of Li Palace. She was indeed different from ordinary people. "I am completely different from the 100 Transformation Star Lord. Why do you have to target me? People will change. You are different from him now, but who knows if you will be the same as him in the future. Therefore, the danger had to be strangled in the cradle. In addition, I have always been attached to the heaven-shocking bow and the sun shooting arrows. If I kill you, won't I be able to obtain these two divine armaments?" Li Xiaotian blinked her big black eyes and said playfully, "Then I'm afraid it won't be as you wish. If you want to kill me, you're still lacking a bit of ability. Moreover, since you have the intention to kill me, I won't let you off either." Tang Zheng said resolutely with a murderous aura. Tang Zheng did not have the habit of not killing women. women were also humans. And since men and women were equal, then if men could kill women, could it be that women could not be killed? Moreover, the other party was still an enemy. If he did not kill him, could it be that he was waiting for the other party to assassinate him again and again? Wouldn't he be the world's greatest fool? So scary, you can actually ruthlessly attack me. Li Xiaotian patted his chest and pretended to be afraid. Stop acting, there are no other spectators here, so it's useless for you to act. Moreover, I can't kill you on this plane, otherwise, it won't be good if other people are buried with you. Tang Zheng said, Yo, you're quite sympathetic. You even know how to care about the lives of others. You're indeed a little different from that 100 transformations, Star-Lord. Li Xiaotian joked. Tang Zheng rolled his eyes at her. He was too lazy to care about her, and prepared to close his eyes to rest. But Li Xiaotian was not prepared to give up just like that, and asked, Aren't you curious why I came to find you again? Tang Zheng remained silent. Li Xiaotian didn't care, and said, Since you know that I want to kill you, I followed you to the sky. Of course, it's not to accompany you to see the scenery, but for my purpose, to kill you. Tang Zheng suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes were like lightning, and was quite frightening. Li Xiaotian chuckled and asked, Are you afraid? Could it be that you want to kill me on the plane and let so many innocent people die with me? Tang Zheng asked coldly. Innocent people? Do you think they are all innocent people? Then why don't you personally ask them if they are innocent? Li Xiaotian reached out to cover her cherry mouth and pointed to the other passengers and asked. Tang Zheng's heart skipped a beat, and he quickly looked up, only to see that there were about 100 people on the plane, and many of them were focused in his direction. When Tang Zheng's gaze swept over, everyone subconsciously lowered their heads, unwilling to look at Tang Zheng, but it was already too late. Tang Zheng had already noticed the clues. These passengers were not ordinary people. Each and every one of them had eyes like lightning, bright and full of expression. One could tell at a glance that they were not good people. Tang Zheng was shocked. There were no innocent people on this plane. The other passengers had already been cleared out, and in their place were enemies who wanted to kill him. What a big move. Tang Zheng coldly snorted and said, You're not afraid, as expected of a body full of guts. Admirable. But from now on, I won't be able to see you again. It's quite a pity. Li Xiaotian shook her head and said regretfully, Stop playing around. Since Li Palace has made such a big move to kill me, then come. Tang Zheng was suddenly not afraid, and had already unbuckled his seatbelt. On the other side, Huang Xiang also quietly unbuckled his seatbelt, his face ashen, ready to attack at any time. Chapter 489. When Tang Zheng heard this, he carefully looked and found that it was indeed the case. The people from Li Palace were all women, and these were all tall and sturdy men. It seems that you have found a helper. I'm not your opponent, so of course I need to find a helper. This time my helper is not simple, Li Xiaotian proudly said. Just as he finished speaking, a person walked over. Tang Zheng's pupils shrank as he stared at the person and coldly said, Xingfeng, it's you? Li Xiaotian was actually working with the Dragon Group. This was really unexpected. Tang Zheng, I know that you definitely still have the life-continuing pill. Hand it over, and we can let you go. Xingfeng murderously said. You still want the life-continuing pill. Tang Zheng coldly said. You really don't want to give up. Tang Zheng, going against the Dragon Group is going against the country. You're digging your own grave. Your words sound dignified and even better than singing. But what qualifications do you have to represent the country? Don't talk to me about these useless things. It is you guys who want to go against me, and not me who wants to go against you. If you want to use your strength to bully the weak, then let's see if you're strong enough. Tang Zheng said with a smile that did not reach his eyes. Li Xiaotian coldly watched from the side. Seeing that Tang Zheng was unyielding, he could not help but clap his hands and said with a smile, You really have spirit. Strong, strong. Since it is like this, then what are you waiting for? Finished speaking, Li Xiaotian stood up and took a few steps back. Xingfeng did not say anything and waved his hand. In an instant, Tang Zheng and Huang Zhang were surrounded by layers upon layers of people. You want to attack me from 10,000 meters up in the air? You guys are dreaming, Tang Zheng jokingly said. It is because we are 10,000 meters up in the air that you have nowhere to hide and nowhere to run, Xing Feng proudly said. With the previous experience, Xing Feng had clearly learned his lesson. Is that so? Tang Zheng did not comment. Do it. Xing Feng waved his hand, and more than 10 guns were pointed at Tang Zheng and Huang Zhang. I know you're not afraid of ordinary guns. Have a taste of the power of these guns. Tang Zheng felt a chill in his heart. These guns were definitely not ordinary guns. He did not dare to be careless and waited for them. Bang, bang, bang. The other party pulled the triggers together, and bullets shot out from the muzzles. Before the bullets hit Tang Zheng, they exploded, and the air seemed to freeze. Tang Zheng's expression suddenly changed. He shouted, "Be careful," and pushed out both of his palms. With a whoosh, a strong wind blew in their faces. Everyone felt a burning sensation on their cheeks, as if they were being burned by fire. The cold air produced by the explosion was instantly neutralized, but the other party did not stop. Instead, he continued to pull the trigger. Bullets blotted out the sky and instantly enveloped the space in front of Tang Zheng. You want to force me to submit just like that? Dream on. Sky swallowing technique. Tang Zheng roared. He drew a circle in front of his chest with his palm, and an invisible suction force was instantly produced. It was as if a black hole had appeared in the void. The bullets that blotted out the sky disappeared without any warning. Many people cried out in alarm. Even Li Xiaoyan's eyes flashed with a strange light. Now it's our turn. Do it. Before Tang Zheng finished speaking, he had already leaped out like a fierce tiger. In such a small space, although the enemy had the advantage of numbers, not everyone could use their full strength. There were only about 10 people who could face Tang Zheng face to face. Although the other party was a super soldier, there was still a large gap between their individual strength and Tang Zheng's. Therefore, under Tang Zheng's bold and fierce moves, several people had already fallen. Huang Zhang did not care. He passed by Tang Zheng and directly charged into the enemy's battle. Battle cries rose and fell, and people kept falling. Xing Feng's face was ashen. Li Xiaoyan crossed his arms and urged, "Why aren't you using your killer move? If this goes on, your subordinates will be wiped out. But if I kill him like that, I won't be able to get the life-continuing pill. Then I won't be able to report to my superiors." Xing Feng hesitated. The life-continuing pill was something that his superiors wanted. If he failed again, then he really would not have the face to report to his superiors. Kill him and take his Sumeru pouch. Won't you be able to get what you want? Li Xiaoyan suggested. Tang Zheng could make other things appear at any time, so he definitely had a treasure like the Sumeru pouch. This was not difficult for Li Xiaoyan and Xing Feng to guess. Okay, kill him. Xing Feng was also rather envious of the mysterious four symbols venerable one. The life-continuing pill could be handed over to the higher-ups, but if the four symbols venerable one could keep it for his own use, then he could safely make up for his lack of strength. Seeing that Xing Feng's killing intent had been aroused, the corner of Li Xiaoyan's mouth curled up, and he sneered in his heart. "Idiot, I have my heaven-shocking bow and shooting sun arrows in my Sumeru pouch. How could I let you off so easily? Open the cabin door." Xing Feng ordered loudly. With a bang, the cabin door opened, and a strong suction force was produced. The things inside the cabin flew out of the cabin and flew 10,000 meters into the air. A few super warriors were also sucked out, while Tang Zheng and Huang Zhang were forced to retreat towards the cabin door. The two of them seemed to have grown roots in the cabin and did not move an inch. However, they could not resist the enemy's pressure. They approached the cabin door step by step, and the huge suction force caused their clothes to flutter, causing their faces to hurt. What were they doing? Could it be that they want to force me out of the sky and fall to my death? Tang Zheng thought suspiciously. Whiz! With a sharp sound of something tearing through the air, a rocket actually rose into the air and shot towards Tang Zheng. F***, what are they doing? Aren't they afraid of blowing up the plane? Aren't they afraid of death? Tang Zheng shouted crazily, but facing the continuous barrage of rockets, this was completely different from the bullets from before. In terms of explosive power, the rockets were even stronger. Bang! With a loud explosion, Tang Zheng and Huang Xiang were sent flying by the blazing heat wave, and a large hole was blown in the wall of the cabin. The alarm in the cabin rang nonstop. However, the others acted as if they did not see it. Seeing that Tang Zheng and Huang Xiang were sent flying by the wave of air, everyone immediately jumped out of the hole. What the hell are they doing? Are they really not afraid of death? Tang Zheng was dumbstruck. The other party's actions were completely out of his expectations. But soon, Tang Zheng's question was answered, because two flames spurted out from the feet of each super soldier, and their bodies were suspended in midair. So, they have special equipment. No wonder they're so fearless. Are they bullying me because I don't have any equipment? Are they planning to fall to my death? Tang Zheng felt the wind blowing in his ears. The feeling of weightlessness was a test of one's mental and physical endurance. However, Tang Zheng did not panic. When he saw the pursuers diving down without holding back, he calmly took out the dragon-trapping lasso. The dragon-trapping lasso was like an extension of his arm, easily binding a few super soldiers. With a few cracking sounds, the equipment on their legs was destroyed by the dragon-trapping lasso. And then these guys without wings quickly fell down, their screams echoing through the sky. Tang Zheng sneered. He thought that these super soldiers were really not afraid of death, but it turned out that they knew fear even without equipment. The only person who was not afraid was Huang Xiang. His eyes were wide open as he fell uncontrollably. However, he did not panic, and there was not even the slightest fluctuation in his eyes. Tang Zheng glanced at him and shouted, "Don't just watch, attack the enemy." Huang Xiang's body suddenly froze for a moment. The ghost head blade slashed out in the air, and a person was directly killed by the blade, turning into a rain of blood. Missiles lock onto him. With Xing Feng's order, a pocket-sized missile launcher rose from the shoulders of a few super soldiers. Swoosh, swoosh. The missile followed a strange path and flew towards Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng was in midair and had nowhere to relay the missile. Seeing a missile flying towards him, he immediately took out his heaven-shocking bow and sun-shooting arrow. With a whoosh, a shooting sun arrow hit the missile. Flames rose into the air, but the shooting sun arrow was not destroyed. It only had its attack power reduced and flew to the side. Li Xiaotian, who had been watching coldly from the side, also had a full set of equipment. He quickly grabbed the sun-shooting arrow and could not hide the joy on his face. Back then, he had only managed to obtain a sun-shooting arrow from Tang Zheng's hands after racking his brains. Today, he had obtained another one. It was not in vain to cooperate with the dragon group and endure Xing Feng's bad temper. When Tang Zheng saw that a sun-shooting arrow had fallen into Li Xiaoyan's hands, although he was unwilling, there was nothing he could do. Huang Xiang's method of dealing with the missile was even more efficient. He did not back down at all, and instead used his blade to deal with the missile. Bang! With an explosive sound, Huang Xiang was sent tumbling a few times by the explosion. His body was blasted open, and his clothes were tattered as fresh blood flowed out. However, he did not feel any pain at all. Instead, he roared like a madman, filled with anger. "Tang Zheng, today is the day you die. Let's see how you're going to escape." Xing Feng looked down from above and roared complacently. Tang Zheng looked at the other party hatefully. They were fully prepared and purposely moved at such a high altitude, greatly limiting Tang Zheng's fighting strength. The speed at which they were falling was getting faster and faster, and they were getting closer and closer to the ground. What entered their eyes was a boundless blue sea. The reason they chose to make their move above the sea was to avoid attracting the attention of the people on the land. Although it was all water below them, the water was still fatal. Falling into the water at such a high speed, not to mention that Tang Zheng's chaotic Vajra spell had not reached large success. Even if he had, falling into the water at such a high speed would still be enough to choke on. "This won't do. We're definitely going to die like this. We have to think of a way. Tang Zheng was anxious, but Xiangzi was calm as his thoughts raced. However, Xingfeng obviously did not want to give the two of them a chance to think. Attacks came one after another, whether it was the cold air bullets or the missiles. They all greeted the two of them with all their might. They wanted to counterattack, but the other party relied on their equipment and dodged far away, leaving Tang Zheng helpless. The smile on Xingfeng's face grew wider and wider, while Li Xiaotian was relatively calm. She had interacted with Tang Zheng for so many days, so she understood him better. Until the last moment, she could not predict what would happen, much less determine the outcome. Chapter 490. As they approached the surface of the sea, they could already see the reflection of the sun. Venerable Four Symbols, it's up to you now. Tang Zheng gave a loud cry as the Four Symbols Senior appeared out of thin air. Tang Zheng leaped up and climbed onto the Four Symbols Senior's shoulder before drilling into the Four Symbols Senior's chest. He hurriedly controlled the Venerable Four Symbols to catch the falling Huangziang. At that moment, a missile hit the Venerable Four Symbols, causing sparks to erupt from its body. Many people cheered, but the cheers quickly turned into cries of surprise. Although the Venerable Four Symbols was hit by the missile, it was unharmed. I'll show you the power of the Venerable Four Symbols. With a thought from Tang Zheng, the Venerable Four Symbols waved its hand. Bang! A super soldier was sent flying by the fist and fell into the sea like a cannonball, causing a huge splash. Retreat, retreat quickly. Xingfeng knew how powerful the Venerable Four Symbols was. Seeing this, he hurriedly ordered. Everyone quickly retreated and fired at the Venerable Four Symbols. However, the Venerable Four Symbols was invulnerable and unharmed. Boom! A heaven-shaking explosion sounded out as the Four Symbols Senior fell into the sea, causing huge waves to soar into the sky. Even though Tang Zheng was inside the Four Symbols Senior's body, he was still knocked dizzy by the huge impact. Fortunately, he was not seriously injured. Squeak, squeak. Xiaobai suddenly appeared in front of Tang Zheng out of thin air. Previously, because of the flight, Tang Zheng used an illusion to temporarily cut off Xiaobai's connection with the outside world. The outside world could not see it, and it did not know what was happening outside. Due to the violent tremors, the illusion lost its effect and Whitey was revealed. The little guy stretched its neck and looked around with its big eyes, not knowing what had happened. Tang Zheng patted its head to comfort it, then turned his attention to the outside world. The Venerable Four Symbols was a huge creature and weighed a lot. Of course, it could not swim. As soon as it entered the sea, it quickly sank. By the time the super soldiers reached the surface, the Venerable Four Symbols had completely sunk into the sea. Tang Zheng hid within the body of the Four Symbols Venerable and was completely isolated from the seawater outside. He was completely fine. Huangzang was also lying on the shoulder of the Four Symbols Venerable without any abnormality. Huangziang was Tian Chanzi's puppet. Although his appearance was still that of a human, because of his cultivation, his body was completely different from that of an ordinary human. Therefore, even if he was in the sea, he would still be fine without breathing. Moreover, the pressure from the sea wouldn't harm his body for the time being. The sea had returned to its calm state. The Dragon Group's equipment could only fly in the air and not dive. So, they could only watch as Tang Zheng disappeared into the sea. Xingfeng's face was ashen as he cursed. A bunch of useless things. There are so many of you, yet you can't even deal with the two of them. What are you waiting for? Take off your equipment and dive down to take a look. A few super soldiers jumped into the water to investigate, while the others stared at the surface of the sea. The smile on Li Xiaoyan's face disappeared as well. He sighed faintly and said, "It's useless. Since he disappeared from our sight, it'll be difficult for us to find him again." Humph! Don't tell me he'll just stay under the water and not come out. I don't believe he'll turn into a fish in the sea. Xingfeng said unwillingly. Li Xiaotian didn't comment and said, This time I cooperated with you because I thought the dragon group strength was outstanding. Now it seems that my expectations were a bit too high. Xing Feng snorted and said, perhaps the dragon group strength is still weak now, but in the future, the dragon group won't lose to any of the three great organizations. Li Xiaotian shrugged and said, then I'll wait and see. But let me remind you that Tang Zheng isn't an ordinary person. He's already escaped from your hands 3 times. The next time you want to catch him, it'll be even more difficult. You'll have to find another way. What do you mean? It's very simple to deal with a person. As long as you find his weak spot, you can make him surrender without resistance. He'll do whatever you want him to do. Li Xiaotian said with a smile, but his eyes were like a poisonous snake, causing others to tremble in fear. Xing Feng didn't feel any fear. On the contrary, his interest was piqued, and he said, I'd like to hear the details. Li Xiaotian was just about to speak when he saw a few people rushing out of the water. Then, they fell from the sky and fiercely crashed into the water. Attention! Xing Feng only had time to warn before he saw a huge monster rushing out of the water. It jumped out of the water, and with a sweep of its long arm, it directly attacked the super soldiers. On the shoulder of this huge monster were 2 fellows, one big and one small. The big fellow was Huang Ziang. His whole body was drenched as he raised the demon head blade with water droplets on it and slashed down. The small fellow was Xiaobai. He opened his mouth and flames filled the sky. It was as if the sky had been lit up and the super soldiers were immediately set on fire. Bang! 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 Bullets and missiles quickly greeted the 4 symbols Venerable. However, the 4 symbols Venerable's momentum had already been exhausted. He fell into the water and disappeared without a trace. The few super soldiers who were hit fell into the water one after another, losing their ability to fight. Xing Feng clenched his fists so hard that the veins on his forehead popped out. He gritted his teeth and roared. Damn it! He didn't escape, but launched a counterattack instead. For such a huge monster to be able to counterattack in the sea, it's really strange. Li Xiaotian didn't say a word. He carefully observed the sea below and suddenly said, this part of the sea is very shallow. That's why the 4 symbols Venerable leaped out of the water with the help of a huge rebound force. Xing Feng was shocked and asked, that means he can attack again? Yes. Li Xiaotian nodded. As if to prove her words, the 4 symbols Venerable leaped out of the water with a loud sound and launched an attack on the other super soldiers. These super soldiers were completely wiped out again. Xing Feng was so angry that he cried out, are you all blind? Don't you know how to dodge? Hurry up and take to the air. Get out of his attack range. The remaining super soldiers all took to the air and looked down at the sea from a height of over 1,000 meters. Not long after, the 4 symbols Venerable leaped out of the sea again. However, this time, because the enemy was too far away, he returned without any success. Seeing the 4 symbols Venerable swagger into the sea, Xing Feng gritted his teeth and said, you mentioned a weakness just now. What's Tang Zheng's weakness? Li Xiaotian smiled mysteriously and said, he's been an orphan since he was young. He's been relying on a grandfather who adopted him. This grandfather of his is his lifeblood. As long as you catch him, Tang Zheng will be at your mercy. Xing Feng was overjoyed. Why didn't he think of this? He had only thought of dealing with Tang Zheng himself and neglected other methods. This was a way to get things done once and for all. Moreover, catching an old man would be as easy as flipping his hand. It was really too easy. Li Xiaotian smiled as he looked at Xing Feng, who readily accepted this suggestion. His eyes narrowed into slits as he thought proudly, Xing Feng, do you really think I'm giving you advice? Hee, you're really too naive. Li Xiaotian's gaze turned cold, but Xing Feng was immersed in joy and didn't notice. Tang Dahai is Tang Zheng's reverse scale. If you dare to touch him, Tang Zheng will fight you at all costs. At that time, I'll see how long your dragon group can last. The government wants to use the dragon group to check and balance our 3 major organizations. Their thinking is too simple. We can't directly interfere with the dragon group's matters, but we don't mind finding some trouble for you. If Xing Feng knew what she was thinking at this moment, he would definitely give her the title of two-faced woman. Her schemes were too deep, and the slightest bit of carelessness would cause him to fall into her trap. Xing Feng didn't know this, so he didn't realize that he had fallen into Li Xiaoyin's trap. He couldn't wait to capture Tang Zheng and force him to hand over the life-continuing pill. No, not only the life-continuing pill, Xing Feng wanted all of his treasures. Retreat. With Xing Feng's order, he took the lead and flew towards land. Li Xiaoyan deeply looked at the calm sea and muttered to herself, "He's not accompanying his family at home during the winter break. What is he doing in the southern sea?" She couldn't figure out the reason, no matter how hard she racked her brains. She couldn't continue to guard here, because it would be useless. With the protection of the four symbols venerables, Tang Zheng could completely dive under the sea. Her guess wasn't wrong. When Tang Zheng confirmed that the enemy had retreated, he didn't jump out of the water, but instead dived a few hundred meters under the sea. It was true that the four symbols venerables were huge creatures, but in the vast sea, they were insignificant. Diving under the sea wouldn't cause any big movements. The pressure of the several hundred meters under the sea was huge, but it didn't affect the four symbols venerables and Huang Xiang much. Another matter also shocked Tang Zheng. Xiao Bai's swimming ability was actually very good. It was as free as a small fish. Its four claws were constantly paddling the sea, and its speed wasn't slow either. Furthermore, it could also withstand the pressure of the several hundred meters under the sea. From time to time, it would spit out a few small bubbles. It was very cute. The Dragon Palace was located very far from the coastline. Tang Zheng was still quite a distance away. He dived under the sea, and the sea was getting deeper and deeper. Gradually, it was over 1,000 meters under the sea. The four symbols venerables and Xiao Bai were still safe and sound, but Huang Zhang couldn't take it anymore. He kept spitting out bubbles, and his movements became stiff and slow. Although Huang Xiang's body was strong, the pressure at the bottom of the sea was too great. He couldn't take it anymore. "This won't do. I still have to go to the surface." Tang Zheng didn't know how long he had dived for, nor did he know where he was. Therefore, he had no choice but to go to the surface. Bang! The four symbols venerables stomped on the seabed, and the seawater immediately turned turbid. Then, the four symbols venerables charged up like a cannonball. This was already the deep sea, and there were many large fish. Tang Zheng even saw himself flash past a whale. The whale was so frightened that it hurriedly swayed its tail to avoid the huge creature. The other small fish and shrimps were as if they were facing a great enemy. They were almost scared out of their wits. Just as he was about to burst out of the water, Tang Zheng put the four symbols venerables back into his sumaru pouch. Then he surfaced with Huang Xiang and Xiao Bai. Chapter 491. There were no clouds in the sky. A pure white sailboat was floating in the vast sea, and a person was lying on the deck. Tang Zheng and Huang Zhang came out of the water and made a lot of noise. They immediately woke up the person lying on the deck, sunbathing. She immediately stood up and looked at the strangers who suddenly appeared in surprise. She covered her cherry mouth in surprise, but she quickly reacted and waved to Tang Zheng. Then, with a beautiful diving posture, she jumped directly from the deck into the sea and swam quickly towards Tang Zheng like a mermaid. Tang Zheng looked at this scene with his mouth agape. This was really beyond his expectations. When he saw the mermaid getting closer and closer, he also came back to his senses, but he did not act rashly. Instead, he looked at the mermaid who was getting closer and closer. Phew, the mermaid took a deep breath and finally stopped hitting the water and stopped in front of Tang Zheng. "Huh, you didn't drown?" She did not speak in Huaxiao language, but in English. Fortunately, Tang Zheng's English is good, and he understood. "We didn't drown," Tang Zheng said. "Then why are you in the sea?" she asked with her big round eyes. Tang Zheng stared at the other party without blinking. The other party was indeed a famous mermaid. In fact, she was really beautiful. She was a Westerner, tall, with deep eyes, especially her hair and skin that were wet by the sea, glowing with a crystal luster, and her big eyes seemed to be able to speak, blinking. More importantly, she was wearing bikinis. Her exquisite and graceful figure was revealed without a doubt. Every inch of her body was just right, especially the surging waves on her chest. They were constantly swaying as they were hit by the waves, causing ripples in one's heart. Tang Jing quickly calmed his mind and looked at the other party curiously, then glanced at the sailboat not far away. Although he didn't know much about sailboats, it seemed that this sailboat was also very valuable, which meant that the other party's identity was not ordinary. In addition, what made Tang Jing like her even more was that she did not hesitate to jump into the water to rescue them. As a beauty, it was not easy to have this kind of courage and kindness. We are fishermen. We went out to sea to catch fish, but we were careless and our boat was destroyed by the waves. After that, we drifted on the sea. Fortunately, we met you. Otherwise, we would have been buried in the sea. Tang Jing made up a story and said with great emotion. Surprisingly, the mermaid did not suspect anything. Instead, she said sympathetically, "Then you are really pitiful. Fortunately, I met you. This means that your bad luck has come to an end. Thank you for saving my life." Tang Jing said gratefully. "Don't say too much. Let's get on the boat," the mermaid said. The few of them swam back to the boat. Tang Jing glanced around and did not see anyone else. This mermaid was very bold. She was not afraid that they were bad people and directly picked them up on the boat. She was not vigilant at all. He did not know what she was doing drifting on the sea. The mermaid carefully looked at the two of them and muttered in her heart. These two did not seem like fishermen. However, she did not delve into it because her attention was quickly attracted by Xiao Bai. The little guy was standing on the deck and shaking off the water. He was pouting his little pink mouth and was quite cute. The mermaid's eyes lit up and she cheered. "Wow, what a cute little animal." Xiao Bai looked up and pouted at her. He jumped onto Tang Jing's shoulder and grabbed Tang Jing's wet hair. He looked at the mermaid curiously. "What kind of animal is this? How come I've never seen it before?" she asked in surprise. Tang Jing looked at her in surprise. When other people saw Xiao Bai at first glance, they would treat it as an ordinary puppy. Only she did not classify Xiao Bai as a puppy. "He's called Xiao Bai. He's my pet." Tang Jing did not answer Xiao Bai's type. The mermaid nodded, but did not ask further, because with her family's upbringing, it was very rude to ask further. "How cute. Looking at your appearance, are you from an island nation?" the mermaid asked. This was a common phenomenon. In the eyes of these Westerners, when they saw people with Eastern faces, they would first think of people from an island nation. They would not think of them as people of the great Huaxia. It had to be said that this was a great irony. "We are from Huaxia," Tang Jing corrected. The mermaid was startled and quickly apologized. "I'm really sorry." "It's okay. Huaxia is a country with a long history of civilization. I've always been looking forward to it," the mermaid said in the purest Huaxia language. Tang Jing was stunned. Did he hear wrong? She actually spoke Huaxia language, and it was very standard. She was definitely a person who had received the most professional training. Looking at Tang Jing's expression, the corners of her mouth rose slightly and said, "I have a talent for languages, so I learned a few more." Tang Jing sighed, "Amazing. I haven't asked your name yet. You can call me Ian. What about you?" "My name is Tang Jing. He's Huang Ziang. Nice to meet you," and smiled. The light of the sun in the sky seemed to be covered by her smile. "Your fishing boat was destroyed by the waves. Where are you going now? Back to Huaxia?" and asked, "Where are you going?" "I'm going to the southernmost part of the ocean." Tang Jing's heart skipped a beat. The Dragon Palace was still further south. It was on the way, so he said, "We're not going back home. I have friends fishing further south. We're going to meet them there." And said happily, "Really? That's great. Then we could go together. That way we won't be lonely on the way." Tang Jing couldn't help but laugh. This mermaid was too gullible. He casually made up a reason, and she actually believed it. It seemed that she was inexperienced and didn't have much social experience. This was for the best. Tang Zheng also didn't have to be careful. The two sides chatted for a while. Tang Zheng gradually understood that this mermaid had a strong sense of adventure. She was actually sailing around the world alone. Tang Zheng was flabbergasted. Her goods were simply too big. Not to mention encountering bad people, even if there were all kinds of big waves, it would be filled with unknown risks. Her family was actually willing to let her take this risk. In addition, she wasn't from the Western Empire, as Tang Zheng thought. She came from a small country on the European continent with a long history, Sweden. The largest country on the European continent was the Atlantic Empire, but there were other scattered small countries, and Sweden was one of them. Sweden had a long history and still retained the royal system. Although it was a small country, its economy was quite extraordinary, and kept asking about Huaxia's local conditions and customs. She seemed to be very interested in Huaxia. In addition, the knowledge revealed in her words made Tang Zheng secretly admire her. From astronomy to geography, even literature, art, history, and philosophy, she was quite accomplished in all of them. Moreover, she was very familiar with a lot of uncommon knowledge, many of which were things that Tang Zheng had never heard of before, causing him to be flabbergasted and suddenly enlightened. Her family must be either rich or noble. Otherwise, it would be impossible for them to nurture such an outstanding talent. Moreover, the aura she exudes is the true aura of a noble. Her every move seems casual, but in reality, it has a deep meaning. Tang Zheng muttered in his heart, and was completely different from a nouveau riche second generation in the country. Everything she showed made Tang Zheng look at her in a new light, and arranged cabins for the two of them, and then quietly sailed the sailboat. Tang Zheng had nothing to do, so he sat on the deck and watched the clouds and the sea scenery. After a day of sailing, they came to a deeper part of the ocean. There were no clouds for thousands of miles, and the wind was calm. It was as if they were gliding on a mirror, making them feel relaxed and happy. Tang Zheng experienced the scenery of the ocean and was intoxicated by it. Annie would occasionally exchange a few words with him and introduce knowledge of the ocean to him, which greatly benefited him. Suddenly, 3 speedboats appeared on the surface of the sea and quickly sailed toward the sailboat. Why are there these small speedboats in the middle of the sea? What are they doing? Tang Zheng muttered in his heart, and obviously also noticed the other party. She walked out of the cockpit and stood on the deck to look. Who are they? Tang Zheng asked curiously, and shook her head. I don't know. I've never encountered such a situation before. As they spoke, the speedboats arrived in front of the sailboat and slowed down. The speedboats surrounded the sailboat from front to back. Tang Zheng's pupils shrank. He clearly saw the people on the speedboats. They didn't come with good intentions. These people were all carrying guns, ammunition, and other weapons, and walked to the side of the boat and looked at the other party. What do you want? She asked. Haha, we're going to be rich this time. This lady is obviously not an ordinary person. You'll definitely get a lot of ransom money. A thin man with buck teeth laughed and spoke in English. Tang Zheng and frowned at the same time, and angrily said, Who are you people? Pirates. The man with buck teeth said proudly. Tang Zheng's head thumped. The outside world had always said that the sea at the southern end of the ocean wasn't peaceful. There were many pirates, big and small, who specialized in robbery and kidnapping. Tang Zheng had always lived on the mainland and didn't have a direct impression of these things. It was really too much of a coincidence to be able to meet them this time. He wasn't afraid. Instead, he was eager to give it a try. He looked at the pirates with interest. There were more than 10 pirates in total. Each of them was carrying a rifle or a pistol. One of them even had a rocket launcher on his shoulder. Their firepower wasn't weak and was more than enough to deal with ordinary people. No wonder they were able to succeed so many times, and didn't panic when she heard the other party's identity. Instead, she was calm and said righteously, Being a pirate is against the law. Repent and be saved. Turning over a new leaf is the right path. Repent and be saved? Turning over a new leaf? Ha ha! The pirate laughed wildly as if he had heard the funniest joke. Suddenly, the buck-teeth's smile disappeared, and he said with a murderous look, Arrest them all for me. This time we've kidnapped a big one. After this one is done, We can rest for a while. Chapter 492. It was Tang Zheng's first time seeing pirates, so he wasn't afraid. Instead, he was a little curious. Looking at En's attitude, he felt that she was a little silly and cute. It was a waste of saliva to talk with these useless people. The pirates were holding rifles, and the muzzles were waving around. It was obvious that they were a motley crew. Tang Zheng wasn't even interested in making a move. Instead, he wanted to see what the other party was going to do. This person is scared silly. Haha, useless man. The pirate smirked, and didn't expect the two fishermen to resist. Seeing the pirate pouncing towards her, she reached her hand to her thigh and pulled out a pocket pistol. She pointed it at the pirate and shouted, "Don't move, or I'll shoot." Haha, you want to scare us with a toy gun? The pirate wasn't afraid at all. Instead, the buck-toothed pirate swaggered towards En. I'm really going to shoot. En's body trembled. Bang! The gunshot shocked everyone. The pirate almost pulled the trigger and shot at them, but he restrained himself in the end. This was because Annie's shot did not hit anyone, and the bullet was thousands of miles off target. Ha ha! Buck-toothed laughed wildly. You dare to shoot with this kind of marksmanship? Brother will teach you how to play with a gun. Sent. Buck-toothed grabbed the pistol and threw it into the sea. He pointed the rifle muzzle at and shouted angrily, "See, this is a gun. A man's gun. I'll let you see a man's other, more powerful gun in a moment." When the other pirates heard this, they laughed even more unscrupulously. Their eyes kept sizing up, and En's heart trembled. She quickly hugged her chest, but it didn't have the slightest power. Instead, it looked delicate and pitiful, causing ripples in people's hearts. Tie them up. Several pirates hurriedly tied the three people up with ropes. Tang Zheng and Huang Zhang didn't resist because Tang Zheng had a new idea. These pirates weren't good people. They had burned, killed, and plundered countless times. Since he had encountered them today, it was their bad luck. If he could get rid of these guys while he was at it, he would be doing a good deed. Pirates were a group of people, and it was impossible for there to be only a few of them. Therefore, Tang Zheng was prepared to pretend to be a hostage and infiltrate the pirates' base, then remove this malignant tumor in one fell swoop. There's a puppy here. We'll have dog meat tonight, Buckteeth shouted excitedly when he saw Xiao Bai. Capture him. Xiao Bai opened his mouth to protest, but was stopped by Tang Zheng's gaze. However, when he saw the pirate approaching with a knife, Xiao Bai did not sit still. He jumped into the sea and disappeared. Sai, what bad luck. That little bastard is actually so smart. He escaped. Jumping into this boundless sea means certain death, so it would be better to make us a side dish, Buckteeth said regretfully. Tang Zheng was not worried about Xiao Bai because he saw a white figure falling into the ship from afar. This ship is high-grade goods. We really got a big fish this time, the pirate said excitedly as he looked around and knocked on the side of the ship. This ship is yours, right, little girl? Buckteeth asked Dan. It's mine. Then who are they? Looking at them, it's obvious they're not with you. Their clothes are also shabby, so it's obvious they don't have much money. It's better to just push them into the sea, Buckteeth said fiercely. Stop them, my friends. If you dare to touch them, don't think of getting a penny, and shouted to stop him. Tang Zheng's heart skipped a beat. This mermaid is quite loyal. Hee, so you must be very rich. How much can you pay to redeem your lives? Buckteeth licked his lips and asked expectantly, How much do you want? And raised her head and asked. When the pirates heard this, their eyes lit up. When Tang Zheng saw this, he sighed inwardly. This mermaid really didn't have much social experience. Wouldn't it seem like he was a big piece of fat meat if she said that? These pirates wouldn't let her go so easily and would even ask for an exorbitant price. 50 million. Buckteeth stretched out a hand and said excitedly and nervously. This price tag was already very high because it was equivalent to $300 million in Huaxia dollars. This was truly an exorbitant price tag. No problem. Unexpectedly, and agreed without even blinking. Buckteeth's expression clearly became more excited. He thought to himself that the price he offered was too low for the other party to agree so readily. However, he didn't immediately increase the price. The people were in his hands, so it wouldn't be too late to increase the price after the 50 million arrived. Tang Zheng sighed inwardly. This was going to be troublesome. If she hadn't met him, he was afraid this mermaid would really be out of luck. The sailboat and speedboat rode the wind and broke through the waves. After a long time, they finally saw a small island. Looking from afar, the island was filled with rugged rocks and looked quite imposing. There's actually such a treasure land in the middle of the sea. These pirates really picked up a treasure. Tang Jing only took a glance from afar and discovered that this was a place that was easy to defend and difficult to attack. The entrance to the island was a narrow waterway that was difficult for large ships to pass through. Only speedboats and small boats could pass through. Moreover, this waterway was flanked on both sides by sheer cliffs. Tang Zheng also saw scattered figures on the cliffs, who were obviously pirates. The defense is tight. No wonder these pirates are so arrogant. However, technology is so advanced now, and these pirates are so rampant. Aren't they afraid of being attacked by various countries? Tang Zheng muttered in his mind. Although pirates were powerful, they were still like clay chickens and pottery dogs when faced with ordinary people, real state machinery, and an attack from the military. They couldn't withstand a single blow. Tang Zheng couldn't figure it out, so he decided to wait and see. Moreover, this place was already very close to the Dragon Palace, so he didn't mind staying for a few more days. Haha, buck teeth, the Sea King will definitely be very happy with such a big harvest this time. A pirate shouted excitedly when he saw Buck Teeth return with 3 hostage, especially the Radiant, and Buck Teeth's face flushed red as he chuckled. This is my good luck. Let me tell you, this little girl is willing to pay 50 million for safety. 50 million. The other pirates opened their mouths wide. This was really a big deal, and they all stared at and like a tiger eyeing its prey, and wasn't afraid at all. She raised her head like a proud princess and looked at the pirates with disdain. She muttered to herself, a group of pathetic people who let their hearts fall into depravity because of money. Tang Zheng smiled bitterly. This mermaid was not only stupid because of money, but she was also a bit of a clean freak. Let's go and see the Sea King. Buck Teeth kicked Tang Zheng's leg and cursed. Tang Zheng's face flashed with anger. Buck Teeth, you just wait. You dare to kick me? I'll make you suffer later. In the center of the island, hidden among many tropical plants, a stone building was particularly eye-catching. Tang Zheng saw it from afar. This is the residence of the Sea King. This Sea King is the leader of this group of pirates. Tang Zheng pondered. Creak. 2 dart pirates pulled open a huge stone door, and Buck Teeth led the 3 of them in. The floor was paved with stone slabs, and the air was filled with the smell of the salty sea breeze. The light was somewhat dim. A big man sat boldly on a huge throne. This big man had a full beard and was muscular. He was bare-chested and only wore a pair of shorts on his lower body. His skin was dark, and his eyes were bright and full of expression. 2 Western beauties sat on the armrests on both sides of the throne. Only a few pieces of gauze covered their bodies, so they were almost naked. In any case, Tang Zheng could clearly see their body parts under the gauze. However, these 2 Western beauties had dull expressions, as if they were walking corpses without souls. Buck Teeth, how was the harvest this time? The Sea King asked. Buck Teeth knelt before the Sea King and said respectfully, Sea King, the harvest this time was quite bountiful. We caught a big hostage, and this woman agreed to pay 50 million to redeem herself. The Sea King's gaze turned and fixed on Anne. He couldn't hide his pleasant surprise and said, "Ha, what a stunning beauty!" After saying that, he impatiently stood up and casually threw the 2 beauties beside him to the ground. Then he strode toward Anne and subconsciously took a step back and shouted, "What are you doing?" The Sea King grabbed Anne into his arms and said with an evil smile, "I've never seen such a stunning beauty before. Buck Teeth, you've done a great service this time." Buck Teeth was unable to restrain his joy. "Get lost. If you dare touch me, You won't get a single cent," and loudly shouted to stop him. The Sea King's hands subconsciously stopped and released, and he laughed mischievously and said, "Don't worry, I'm a very trustworthy businessman. As long as you give me the money, I definitely won't touch you," and heaved a sigh of relief, and some color returned to her pale cheeks. Tang Jing secretly shook his head. This silly girl actually believed this pirate leader. If she could believe his words, then pigs could fly. The Sea King's gaze roamed over Annie's body as he thought to himself, "Beauty, when your money arrives, I'll slowly enjoy you." Getting both the person and the money at the same time. That's the style of the Sea King. Ha ha. Make the call and transfer the money. The Sea King handed a satellite phone to Anne. Annie hurriedly dialed the number, and the call went through immediately. However, the Sea King snatched the phone away and shouted into the phone, "Your relative is in our hands. Prepare to transfer 50 million to us, or I will immediately throw him into the sea to feed the sharks." "Who are you? Why do you have this phone?" A dignified man's voice came from the satellite phone. "Beauty, what's your name?" "He actually doesn't believe me," the Sea King asked. And is in our hands. Do you hear me clearly now?" The Sea King said arrogantly. The other party's breathing clearly paused, and then he said in a deep voice, "Let me talk to Anne. We have always complied with our customers' requests. We can satisfy your request." The Sea King handed the phone to Anne's mouth. "Father," and called out, "And don't worry, we'll definitely get you out." The Sea King immediately took the phone back and said, "Now you know that I didn't lie to you. Transfer the money to this account immediately. If you don't receive the money within an hour, you won't be able to see your precious daughter again. It's too difficult to gather 50 million in an hour. 6 hours. If I don't see the money in 3 hours, you can just wait to collect the corpse." Chapter 493. The Sea King hung up the phone and didn't immediately make a move on in. After all, he hadn't received the ransom yet, so he wasn't in a hurry. "Beauty, you'd better pray that your family will pay as promised. Otherwise, I won't be able to guarantee anything." The Sea King grinned and laughed evilly, and raised her head arrogantly. Although she had become a captive, she didn't put the other party in her eyes at all. She said proudly, "My family will definitely pay." Tang Jing secretly shook his head. This In's background wasn't small, but it was obvious that this group of pirates didn't intend to let her go. Even if her family wasn't ordinary, it was impossible to save her in this vast sea. This heavy responsibility could only fall into his hands. However, Tang Jing wasn't in a hurry to make a move. He wanted to play a monkey and see what kind of tricks this group of pirates had up their sleeves. Take them down and lock them up. The Sea King resisted the desire in his heart and waved his hand, deciding that what he didn't see wouldn't bother him. Buckteeth hurriedly pushed the 3 people away with a malicious smile and walked toward the back mountain of the island. After a while, they stopped in front of a cave. 2 pirates were guarding the entrance with guns. When they saw Buckteeth walking over, they hurriedly bowed and greeted him. It seemed that Buckteeth's position among the pirates wasn't low. He was a leader. "Go in," Buckteeth said, and pushed Tang Jing with all his might. They walked into the cave, which was even more humid and had a rancid smell, and hurriedly covered her nose, frowned, and cried out, "Why is it so smelly? Ha, you're hostages. Do you still want to be picky? Hurry up and go," Buckteeth said sarcastically. Tang Jing and Huangzhang didn't care, but looked pained. It was as if she was suffering more than being killed. Ah, she really is a delicate young lady from a rich family. Instead of paying attention to the danger, she's so concerned about these minor details. Tang Jing shook his head. He really couldn't understand the mermaid's brain circuit. Bang! The 3 people were locked in the outermost cell. The cell door, which was made of wooden sticks as thick as an arm, was tightly shut. "Let's wait patiently. We'll see in 3 hours, hee. Buckteeth lingered on Anne's body as if he wanted to see through her clothes. Seeing Buckteeth swagger in, and gradually adapted to the smell and slowly let go of him. Seeing that Tang Jing didn't say a word, she thought he was scared and hurriedly comforted him. "Don't worry. When my family gives them the money, they'll let us go. We'll be safe." Tang Jing didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He didn't know where her confidence came from. Didn't she know that some people could lie? Thank you, Tang Jing said casually. Oomph, these pirates are too abominable. They must have done a lot of bad things. Once we leave, I'll definitely send people to capture them all. And bit her lips and spoke ruthlessly. Puffed. Before Tang Jing could respond, a soft snicker rang out. Tang Jing and were startled and looked at each other suspiciously, and quickly asked, "Who's laughing?" "I'm laughing at your shameless boasting and overestimating yourselves." The voice rang out again. Tang Jing looked in the direction of the voice and saw that it came from a cell diagonally across from them. But the light in the other cell was dim, and he couldn't see the scene inside. "Why do you say I'm shameless boasting? I'm not lying," and argued. "You're just a woman, yet you dare to talk nonsense about capturing this group of pirates. If this isn't shameless boasting, what is it?" The other person retorted. En's face gradually turned red as she asked, "Who are you? Why are you speaking for the pirates and boosting their morale while diminishing your own?" "I wanted to capture the pirates, but I didn't expect to become a prisoner," the person said self-deprecatingly, full of disappointment. "Ah, so you're an enemy of the pirates. Then who are you?" "International Peacekeeping Force." The man hesitated for a moment and said. Tang Jing and were stunned for a moment. Peacekeeping Force? They often heard this word. This kind of force mostly appeared in various international conflicts or other dangerous places. How could it appear in this pirate's lair? As if understanding the doubts of the two, the other person said, "The United Nations has been paying attention to this group of pirates for a long time. This time, they sent a large number of elites to capture them in one fell swoop." He stopped and didn't continue. Obviously, this operation was a complete failure, so he was embarrassed to speak. Thinking about it, it was also very reasonable. Even the peacekeeping force had failed, but instead that she wanted to capture all the pirates. This was indeed a bit of shameless boasting. Tang Jing didn't expect this group of pirates to be so notorious that even the peacekeeping force was alarmed. This made him even more determined to get rid of this group of pirates. However, he was also very curious. The combat power of the peacekeeping force should be more than a level higher than this group of motley crew. Why did they mobilize so many people to crusade against them fail? Obviously, and also had this question in her heart, so she asked directly. The other person was silent for a moment, sighed, and said dejectedly, "Originally, we were well prepared. Everyone was very confident in the air and sea attack. But I don't know why, in the blink of an eye, all our mechanical equipment failed. The plane crashed, the ship broke down, and we became live targets. We were shot down and sunk." Recalling that scene, he still had some lingering fear in his heart, because all of this had far exceeded his imagination. Everything had happened too quickly, and all of his comrades had been sacrificed. In the end, he was the only one left in the army of hundreds. He was prepared to give himself a glory bomb, but he didn't have time and was directly captured. En's eyes widened in disbelief. As if listening to a book, she subconsciously shook her head and said, "You're making up a story." Hee. The other person laughed self-deprecatingly. "I also hope that all of this is a story I made up so that my comrades can come back to life." And looked sad and didn't say more. It seemed that the other person wasn't making up a story, but what he said was a fantasy. She definitely wouldn't believe it. But when Tang Jing heard this, his pupils involuntarily shrank. He asked, "Could it be that the pirates have some kind of high-tech weapon?" "Impossible." The other person denied it immediately. "There is no such high-tech weapon in this world because this kind of weapon is too heaven-defying. It's impossible for it to exist." Tang Jing thought about it and found that it was true. If there really was a high-tech weapon that could stop all the planes and warships, then the country with such a weapon would definitely become the master of this world. It was like he had the sharpest spear and the strongest shield. He was the only one who could attack others. If the enemy wanted to deal with him, it was simply a fool's dream. Tang Jing muttered in his heart. If this wasn't a high-tech weapon, then what could it be? He couldn't figure it out no matter how much he thought about it. The other person seemed to be tired of talking. No matter how Tang Jing asked, He didn't say anything. The cave fell into a dead silence. Although Anne's face turned a little pale, she still comforted Tang Zheng softly. You have to have confidence. We will definitely regain our freedom. Tang Zheng smiled. I have confidence. Annie smiled, thinking that it was her consolation that worked. She began to chat with Tang Zheng, not feeling the slightest bit of self-consciousness as a captive. After a long time, Buckteeth strode in with a few pirates and fiercely grabbed the person in the cell. Tang Zheng and then finally saw the other person clearly. He was a tall white man with injuries on his body. He wasn't in good spirits, but there was a trace of determination and unyielding between his brows. What are you doing? And immediately questioned loudly when she saw the situation. Ha ha, beauty, you really have a merciful heart. You can't even protect yourself, but you still have the leisure to care about others, Buckteeth said with a smirk. Hurry up and let him go. Look at how injured he is. Don't tell me you still won't let him go. Do you still have any humanity? Anne's question was powerful and awe-inspiring. We're freeing him, and we're giving him a final performance in front of a global audience. After today, he's going to be the most famous star in the world. We're helping him, you know? Buckteeth argued irrationally and froze for a moment and didn't immediately understand the meaning of the other party's words. However, Tang Zheng immediately understood. The pirates were going to broadcast the killing of the peacekeeping soldier live worldwide. This kind of thing was very proficient in using by various terrorist organizations. This was to increase the deterrence and make everyone afraid of them. There is no doubt that a global broadcast of killing a peacekeeping soldier was more powerful and could achieve better results than killing an ordinary person. This group of pirates is no different from a terrorist organization. They have no humanity at all. Tang Zheng silently criticized. This kind of live broadcast was not only a nightmare for ordinary people, but also for the families of the killed. How cruel was it? The peacekeeping soldier also understood what fate was waiting for him. A trace of pain flashed across his face as he proudly said, "What's so terrible about death? When I carried out this mission, I already disregarded life and death. I believe that in the future, what awaits you will be a double trial of morality and law. In the end, your end will come." Buckteeth flew into a rage and kicked the other party over. He cursed. You want to judge us? Dream on. But today is your end. You've already said a few words. After saying that, he waved his hand and several pirates immediately dragged the captive out like a dead dog. Stop. You're not allowed to leave. I won't allow you to kill anyone. And anxiously stomped her feet and shouted to stop them. I'll call you the Sea King. I want to tell him that you must let this person go, or else you won't get the ransom. And really threw caution to the wind and didn't even care about her own safety. When Buckteeth heard about money, he immediately stopped and glared angrily at Anne. What did you say? If you kill him, you won't get the ransom. Chapter 494. The cell door opened, and Buckteeth fiercely escorted Anne out. Seeing this, Tang Zheng hurriedly said, We also want to watch. Hee, someone actually volunteered to watch the killing. Interesting. Buckteeth looked at Tang Zheng in surprise. Tang Zheng pretended to be timid and smiled. I want to broaden my horizons. Buckteeth pondered. Since you're so anxious, I'll kill that peacekeeper later and make you famous. I'll also broadcast it to the world. That way, it'll be even more shocking. Okay, as you wish. They were escorted out of the cave, and frowned and glared at Tang Zheng. She scolded him in a low voice. Why did you get involved? It's very dangerous. A global broadcast? I've never seen it before. It's broadening my horizons, Tang Zheng said with a smile. Anne's frown deepened. She looked at him speechlessly and warned, Don't talk nonsense later. I must make them give up on such inhumane behavior. Tang Zheng rolled his eyes. Since you already know they're inhumane, why are you still trying to persuade him? Isn't that playing the lute to a cow? They were escorted to the Sea King. The Sea King's eyes seemed to sink into Anne's body. He strode over and said, Miss, and your ransom hasn't been paid yet. It's been transferred. It looks like your family won't pay," and shook her head firmly. "That's impossible. It's not time yet. Hee, there's only a few minutes left. However, I don't mind waiting a few more minutes to deal with this annoying guy first." The Sea King shrugged and locked his eyes on his target. "Bazer, you're really a lucky guy. Today, I'll make you the focus of the world's attention," the Sea King said maliciously. Bazer was the name of this peacekeeper. Hearing this, he wasn't afraid at all and loudly rebuked, "Sea King, you've committed all kinds of crimes. Even the heavens won't obey you. The international community won't let you off. The more arrogant you are now, the faster you'll perish." "Is that so? Why was your army annihilated?" "Let me tell you, no matter how many troops you send, I can make sure that none of you return." The Sea King was very confident. Arrogant. Bazer spat. He didn't believe it. Tang Zheng did not really believe that the Sea King had the ability to do so. After all, this group of pirates could not be compared to a regular army, especially a peacekeeping force that had gathered many elites. He did not know where the Sea King's confidence came from. The cameras were already set up and connected to the internet. The global live broadcast began. The Sea King swaggered back to his throne and faced the camera. He did not cover his face like the other terrorist organizations. It was as if he was not afraid of exposing his appearance. "Viewers from all over the world, today, I, the Sea King, will bring you a feast of blood and lives. I will show you who the real king of the sea is." The Sea King's opening was simple and straightforward, full of confidence. In today's society, the internet covered the entire world. Therefore, when this live broadcast video was released, it immediately attracted the attention of many people. However, most people treated it as a prank. However, the Sea King did not disappoint the audience. He immediately ordered his subordinates to bring Bazer in front of the camera. A gleaming knife was placed on Bazer's neck. "Hey, the acting is quite realistic. It's just a claptrap. It's just a clickbait." Yeah, he didn't even cover his face. There isn't such a bold terrorist organization in the world. The audience left comments. Most of them still did not believe it. However, the United Nations was shocked. Ordinary people did not know about Bazer's background, but the United Nations was very clear about it. Many people even knew about the encirclement operation against the Sea King not long ago. The United Nations thought that the whole group had been annihilated. They did not expect that there would be a captive. If they killed Bazer in front of the entire world, the impact would be unimaginable. The United Nations immediately took action. However, at the same time, they found that a few ships had appeared in the sea. They were moving at full speed towards the island. The Sea King did not know about this, nor did he care. He was focused on the audience's reaction. Seeing that most of them did not believe him, he angrily slapped the seat and said, "You don't believe me, right? Don't worry. You'll believe me in a while. I'll show you the power of the Sea King. However, I have to introduce myself first so that everyone can get to know me. You can call me the Sea King because I am the king of the sea. I'm currently on an island in the middle of the sea. I've named it Sea King Island. This is my base. I announce that from today onwards, all ships that pass through this area will have to pay taxes to me in order to seek my protection." At the same time, Buck Teeth opened a sea map. The Sea King drew a large circle on a large area on the map. This meant that this area of the sea would be included in his sphere of influence. Haha, this person is really crazy. The king of the sea is really whimsical. Yeah, and those people are fooling around with him. They're simply idiots. The audience expressed their opinions. "You guys are the idiots. You don't believe me, but I'll make you believe me now. Do you see? This person is Bazer. He's the only remaining captive of the United Nations peacekeeping force sent to encircle me. Today, I'm going to kill him in front of the entire world." The Sea King's voice was filled with madness, and his expression gradually became ferocious. Many of the audience saw this and gradually began to believe him. Could this be true? Is this person really so crazy that he's going to kill people on a live broadcast? You know if you keep watching. Seeing the audience's reaction, the Sea King's tanned face flushed with pride. He hooted, "All of you listen to me. From today onwards, anyone who doesn't pay taxes to me will end up like him." With that, the Sea King took the broadsword and pointed it at Bazer's neck. At this moment, the entire world's audience held their breaths. Bazer's expression didn't change. He shouted righteously, "Sea King, you're crazy. What awaits you is the trial of the entire world. I'll judge you first today. I, the Sea King, pronounce you, Bazer, to be executed immediately." "Stop!" and rushed over and pushed the Sea King away. She stood in front of Bazer, her face flushed red. "I won't allow you to hurt him. This is a crime. Do you know that?" Wow, a beauty actually rushed out. "She's so beautiful. Is she an actress?" "Ha, I know. This must be a show." The tense nerves of the audience relaxed, and they started to tease. "Isn't this Princess Anne of the Swedish royal family?" Suddenly, an audience member commented, "Princess, is this a joke?" "Yeah. How could a princess be in a movie? This must be a joke." The audience didn't believe it. The audience member immediately posted a link to a web page. Out of curiosity, everyone clicked on it. It was a photo of the Swedish royal family attending an event. Anne's photo was among them. She was even described as the most beautiful princess of the Swedish royal family in the past 100 years. Wow, it's really Princess Anne. Could this video be a joke? The Sea King actually captured Princess in two. Shocking news. This is too explosive. One by one, exclamation marks appeared in the minds of the audience. At the same time, the world's major news media picked up the news and immediately reported on this incident that was originally thought to be a farce. The world's major news outlets immediately cut to the live video. This time, it wasn't only on the internet, but also on TV. The incident had escalated. The Sea King didn't expect this turn of events. He didn't rush to capture Anne. Instead, he stretched his neck and his eyes scanned Anne's body. I've caught a big fish this time. The goddess of luck is so good to me. Haha, so Bazer is just a small shrimp. This beauty is the real deal." The Sea King suddenly rushed to Anne's side and grabbed her lotus-like arm. He smiled maliciously and said, "So it's your highness. It's my great honor to be here on Sea King Island today." As he spoke, he bent over and made a gentlemanly gesture, but it was neither fish nor fowl. He didn't look like a gentleman at all, and frowned in disgust. Tang Zheng didn't expect to meet the princess of a country. No wonder she had such a strong aura and was so confident. This is getting more and more interesting. Since her identity is so special, it seems that she doesn't need my help. If a country's princess was captured, the other party would have taken action long ago. Perhaps the rescue team would have arrived soon. Of course, there was no need for Tang Zheng to be the hero and save the beauty. Moreover, the Sea King knew Anne's identity and wouldn't easily make a move against her. This was because he wasn't targeting a person or a family, but an entire country. Other than those anti-human and anti-social terrorists, even a master cultivator like Tang Zheng wouldn't dare to make an enemy of a country. However, a princess of a country sailing around the world by herself. Her courage isn't ordinary. She has a very adventurous spirit. Tang Zheng couldn't help but look at Anne. This princess was really different from the rest. She didn't take the usual path. No wonder your family was willing to pay the 50 million ransom. It's because my price was too low. This price definitely doesn't match the princess's identity, the Sea King said greedily. Then what do you want? And asked. Seeing the contempt in Anne's eyes, the Sea King became angry. He rolled his eyes and said with a smirk, "Since the price is too low, I'll use other things to make up for it." As he spoke, he pinched Anne's chin. Her fair skin immediately flushed red. She angrily said, "Let go of me." Chapter 495. As soon as he said that, it was truly shocking. The audience all over the world was stunned, and their jaws almost dropped to the ground. However, looking at the crazed look in the Sea King's eyes, it was obvious that he was not joking. He was really going to do it. Crazy. This was absolute madness. The Sea King was actually going to broadcast to the world what he and Princess were doing. This would undoubtedly become the most explosive news on television and the internet. The dignity of the Swedish royal family would be fatally challenged. This was not a humiliation for a single person, but for an entire country. The audience was boiling, and many people were even directly angry. Princess was so beautiful that it was blasphemous to look at her for an extra second. However, the Sea King was actually going to do it in front of the entire world. He was simply insane and inhumane. Of course, there was no lack of busybodies running around to spread the news and call their friends to watch this shocking farce. The audience's comments below the live broadcast were already boiling. Millions of comments flooded the internet like a flood. As the person involved, Anne's mind went blank for a moment. She thought that she had misheard. From the moment she was born, she was destined to be extraordinary. Everyone adored and respected her. No one dared to be so rude to her. She was really angry. Since young, she had been educated by the royal family and rarely got angry. She was also good at hiding her temper. However, at this moment, she finally exploded. She gritted her teeth and said, "Shameless." These two words were extremely harsh to her. In her education, there was no such thing as a shrew swearing on the streets. This was the limit of what she could think of. However, to the Sea King, this was like scratching an itch through his boot. It was not lethal at all. Instead, it aroused his interest, and he chuckled. In a moment, I'll let you know who's the real shameless one. I'll let you experience what pleasure is in front of the entire world. I'll make you submit to me. The Sea King was extremely excited. Every cell in his body was cheering. He had not decided to do this on a whim. He had thought it through carefully. He was not afraid of Sweden's revenge at all. Moreover, the reputation of kidnapping a princess and sleeping with a princess could not be compared at all. As long as he slept with the princess, his reputation would become the #1 man in the world. Those celebrities were not even worthy of carrying his shoes. This was the effect he wanted. He wanted people all over the world to know him, fear him, and intimidate them so that they would not dare to go against his decision. Hearing such shameless words, Anne was furious. Her face revealed a determined expression as she said, "Even if I die, I won't let you have your way. Hee, you're my hands. You can't die even if you want to." The Sea King grabbed Anne's arm and put his head in front of her face as he sneered, and wanted to cry, but had no tears. This time, she really couldn't even die. Was she really going to be forced to do that? She couldn't imagine that scene. Tang Zheng had been watching the Sea King's performance with great interest, but he was almost stunned by the Sea King's actions. He was not an ordinary person. He was much bolder than Tang Zheng. He could not help but feel ashamed of his inferiority. Of course, the anger in his heart burned even more. The Sea King no longer had any humanity. Such a person was a scourge in the world. Princess and the audience is still waiting. Let's begin. The Sea King licked his lips and puckered his lips as he bit Anne's face. Damn it, this Sea King is a beast. He actually dared to defile the honorable princess. Yes, he's a scumbag. Sigh. If only I could get intimate with the princess. The audience was in an uproar as more and more comments were left. Seeing this, Tang Zheng immediately prepared to save the damsel in distress. However, before he could do anything, the ground suddenly trembled. Many of the furniture swayed, and the camera tripod tilted and fell to the ground. Oh, what's going on? Yeah, why did the video only capture the lower half of the body? Where's Princess? And the camera fell to the ground, and the scene was a mess. The audience began to shout. However, the scene was even more chaotic. Before the Sea King could bite Anne's cheek, his feet were shaken and he almost fell. The other pirates were in a complete mess as they cursed incessantly. Tang Zheng hesitated for a moment. Could it be an earthquake? Earthquakes often occurred in the sea, and they were even more terrifying than those on land. However, the Sea King wasn't too alarmed. He quickly calmed down and angrily said, "Someone attacked my Sea King's saber. They're courting death. I'll deal with them first before continuing this show. Buck teeth, keep an eye on them." Then, the Sea King strode out, and the other pirates followed him. Buckteeth held his rifle and aimed it at the few of them. He smiled maliciously and said, "Don't worry, everyone. The show will continue in a bit, and will definitely feast everyone's eyes." As he spoke, he licked his lips and thought to himself, "When the Sea King is done playing with Princess, and I wonder if I can enjoy her as well. This is really a blessing that I've cultivated in my previous life." Princess and felt as if she had just walked through the gates of hell. She heaved a huge sigh of relief and kept patting her chest. Her thin clothes billowed and were particularly eye-catching. Tang Zheng had originally been prepared to attack, but something unexpected happened, and he was distracted. He stretched his neck and looked outside, but he couldn't see anything specific. Princess, Anne, and Baser also looked up at the same time. Their expressions were quite anxious, and they guessed that if it wasn't an earthquake, then it was possible that the rescue team had arrived. Buckteeth saw their expressions and curled his lips in disdain. "Don't get your hopes up. These people who came to save you will never return. They're no match for the Sea King." And retorted, "You're boasting shamelessly." Buckteeth said, "If you don't believe me, you can ask this Baser how he was captured. His entire army was wiped out, and that's proof. The Sea King is the king of the ocean. As long as it's on this island, no one is his match." Buckteeth had great confidence in the Sea King. Baser frowned and said, "Don't be arrogant. You kidnapped Princess, and this time, not only the peacekeeping force, but even the Swedish royal family won't let you go. This time, there will definitely be a large army pressing on the border. Your end is here. We'll see in a moment." Buckteeth's confidence didn't waver in the slightest. Tang Zheng looked at Buckteeth thoughtfully. For a desperado to trust another person so much, it could only mean one thing. The Sea King was really powerful. But what made Tang Zheng suspicious was that the Sea King wasn't a martial artist, and he definitely wasn't a cultivator. This made Tang Zheng puzzled as to why the other party had such strong confidence. Where did this confidence come from? Boom, boom, boom. Loud noises came from outside, and battle cries rose and fell one after another. Baser's face lit up, and he whispered, "They're fighting. The pirates are finished this time." Princess and also showed a look of joy. But Buckteeth was still calm in the face of this change. Instead, his shifty eyes darted around Anne's body. Tang Zheng also didn't act rashly. If the pirates were really finished, then he wouldn't make a move to avoid exposing his skills and causing unnecessary trouble. At this moment, the internet was in an uproar. They didn't know what had happened, but the faint, loud noises seemed to indicate something. Many people guessed that the rescue force had arrived. A good show had come to an end before it had even begun, which made many busybodies feel rather regretful. At the highest point of Sea King Island, the Sea King stood there majestically with a group of pirates, looking down at the approaching warships. The strong vibration just now had been caused by the shells fired from the warships, but the pirates were safe and sound. Moreover, a faint curtain of light appeared above them, which wasn't obvious under the strong sunlight. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Another series of cannonballs struck the light screen and exploded one after another. Sea King Island remained unscathed. This curtain of light was like a huge protective cover covering Sea King Island, ensuring its safety and making it impossible for foreign objects to break through. The Sea King looked at the curtain of light confidently with a smile on his face. "What peacekeepers and government troops? They're all a piece of cake in front of me," the Sea King. The other pirates echoed. "The Sea King unifies the sea and is the true king. After this, let's see who dares to disobey your orders in the future." The Sea King nodded with satisfaction. "Sea King, the planes are here." A pirate pointed at several planes whistling in the distance. "Then I'll call these planes to take a bath in the sea." The Sea King took out a colorful conch, aimed his lips at it, and blew. Woo, a melodious sound rang out and drifted into the distance. The other pirates clenched their fists and revealed excited expressions. Rumble. Suddenly, the sea boiled and set off huge waves. At the same time, the planes and warships stopped. The planes fell from the sky and fell straight into the sea, while the warships quietly stopped in the sea, unable to move. Whoosh! A wave soared into the sky and hit the warships directly. The warships immediately cracked, and seawater poured in. The warships quickly sank into the sea. A total of 2 warships were almost instantly broken by the waves and completely lost their power. The people on the warships jumped into the sea, but most of them were drowned by the waves and disappeared without a trace. "Send someone to capture a few captives and let the world see my strength," the Sea King ordered. A few pirates rushed to the area where the incident happened in a speedboat. As the waves gradually subsided, only a few figures were left on the surface of the sea. The others had completely sunk into the sea and were nowhere to be found. These people were immediately escorted to the speedboats by the pirates and brought to Sea King Island. The Sea King walked toward the captives proudly. Looking at the frightened expressions of more than 10 captives, he was overjoyed and laughed to the sky. Chapter 496. The old man had a natural affinity and was dressed meticulously. Although he had been soaked in the sea, he still had an extraordinary temperament. The Sea King stared at the old man and thought that this man had an extraordinary temperament. Could he be the king of Sweden, Princess Anne's father? If so, then this fish was even bigger. "Bring him here," the Sea King ordered. The pirates immediately grabbed the old man, and the other soldiers jumped up and shouted, "Don't touch him." I want to touch him." "What can you do?" The Sea King said fiercely as he grabbed the old man's hair. "Sir, please let me go," the old man said politely instead of getting angry. Look at how anxious they are." "Who are you?" The Sea King released the old man. The old man straightened up and tidied his clothes. He bowed slightly to the Sea King and said, "I am the butler of the Swedish royal family, Bruce. I am in charge of liaising with you regarding Princess Anne." The Sea King curled his lips and said disappointedly, "So you are just a servant. How dare you play dumb with me? Believe it or not, I will take your life immediately." The Sea King had underestimated Bruce's identity. As the butler of the royal family, he was equivalent to Huaxia, the minister of the inner palace in ancient times. He had great power. The royal family had sent him to deal with this matter, so he was definitely not negligent. Hearing the Sea King's threat, Bruce was not afraid. Instead, he straightened his chest like a warrior and said neither humbly nor overbearingly, "Please take me to see Her Royal Highness." The Sea King sneered. "Okay, I will let you reunite and let you see the good thing between me and her with your own eyes." Vulgar," Bruce said. "I will show you what real vulgarity is in a moment. Take him away." The other captives were taken away to be locked up, while Bruce was taken directly to the base camp. When Tang Zheng and the others saw the triumphant return of the Sea King, they all had different expressions, but without exception, they all looked incredulous. On the contrary, Buck Teeth strode forward and shouted, "Sea King, are all the enemies dead?" "Haha, of course. Don't you see who's taking action? With me, the Sea King, here, no one can even think of taking down Sea King Island." The Sea King patted his chest and said confidently, "Bruce, why are you here?" When Princess Anne saw Bruce, she turned pale with fright and hurriedly ran towards him. The Sea King stepped forward and blocked Anne's path. He grabbed her arm and smiled proudly. "Your Highness, we haven't finished our business yet. How can we give up halfway?" "Buck Teeth, hold up the camera. Our program will continue." Buck Teeth hurriedly repositioned the camera and aimed it at the Sea King and Anne. The Sea King faced the camera and said, "Everyone, I've made you wait for a long time because some people have spoiled my mood. But now let's continue. I guarantee that I'll give everyone a wonderful blockbuster. Haha." After the Sea King finished speaking, he immediately attacked Anne. He grabbed her clothes and was about to tear them off. Bruce turned pale with fright and hurriedly stopped him. "Stop! You are not allowed to be rude to Her Royal Highness. Don't you want money? We've already prepared it and can give it to you right away." The Sea King stopped and sneered at Bruce. "I don't just want money. I want her, haha." Anne's sleeves were directly torn, revealing skin that seemed to have been moistened by milk. He's so white. I believe that it will be even whiter and more beautiful here. The Sea King pointed at Anne's chest and laughed maliciously. His big hand directly reached out to grab it. Tang Zheng let out a long sigh. He originally thought that he wouldn't have to do it himself, but it seemed that he had been too naive. The Sea King had used some unknown method to defeat the rescue plan. Now, Tang Zheng had no choice but to rescue her. Whoosh! His feet slipped, and like a ghost, he crossed the distance of several meters and arrived at Anne's side. He grabbed her waist and took her from the Sea King's hands. Then, he took a few steps back and returned to his original position. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. The others didn't have time to react, especially since the Sea King's hand was still suspended in midair. His speed was too fast. Therefore, only an afterimage was left in the camera. The audience around the world only saw a figure flash, and then princess and disappeared from the camera. Only the Sea King was left, standing there like a fool. Princess Anne's face was pale. She thought that she would definitely be humiliated, but she didn't expect the tables to turn. Someone had actually rescued her from the devil's claws. She raised her head slightly, and a familiar face came into view. Oh, why is it him? She had always treated Tang Zheng as an ordinary fisherman and didn't count on him at all. However, at this moment, this fisherman actually showed his prowess and rescued her from the devil's claws. This scene was too romantic. It was like the plot of Phone Call. She stared blankly at Tang Zheng, as if she wanted to see through him, or perhaps she wanted to see something different from his face. However, she failed. He was still him. Even his eyes didn't change at all. There was nothing out of the ordinary. However, the more he was like this, the more she was interested in Tang Zheng. What kind of person was he? Tang Zheng wasn't in the mood to pay attention to the princess's thoughts. Instead, he looked at the Sea King with a burning gaze. The Sea King finally woke up from his daze and stared at Tang Zheng furiously. Who are you? That moment just now had made him tense up. He had been wrong all this time. This person that he had almost ignored was actually a hidden master. However, he wasn't afraid. After all, this was his headquarters. He wasn't even afraid of ships and planes, let alone a single person. You don't have the right to know. Tang Zheng wasn't willing to tell the Sea King his real name. Telling him his real name would be an insult to someone who was worse than an animal. You're courting death. How dare you be so arrogant in my territory? Are you trying to pretend to be a pig to eat a tiger? Let me tell you, that's impossible. Even if you were a tiger on my Sea King Island, I would still skin you alive and pull out your tendons. The Sea King roared fiercely. Tang Zheng jokingly said, Really? Then I'd like to see what kind of ability you have to skin me alive and pull out my tendons. When the others heard this, their expressions changed, especially Bruce and Bezer. The two of them had already experienced the Sea King's prowess. Seeing that someone dared to be so arrogant in the Sea King's headquarters was an eye-opener for them. They were also incomparably anxious. That was because they had pinned all their hopes on Tang Zheng. If he were to suffer an accident due to his carelessness, then they would lose everything and there would be no hope left. Princess Anne didn't have such complicated thoughts. She didn't notice that she was still lying in Tang Zheng's embrace, but her eyes were getting brighter and brighter. That was because the strong confidence that Tang Zheng had when he spoke was too abnormal. It was completely different from before. Who is he? Why didn't he make a move before? Why did he only come to save me when he saw that I was in danger? He's definitely not a fisherman. So who is he? Could he be a great hero like Zorro? Princess Anne was only 18 years old. In addition to her good upbringing, she also had the fantasies of other girls her age. Therefore, she subconsciously imagined Tang Zheng to be a hero from Western legends. The Sea King had never seen someone so arrogant in front of him. He was unable to restrain his anger. He waved his hand and ordered, Capture him. I want to skin him alive in front of the whole world. When the audience saw this scene, they were already seething with excitement. Just as Her Highness was about to be killed, a hero had unexpectedly appeared. Many people left comments wanting to see what this lone hero looked like. However, the camera had been focused on the Sea King, so they could only see his ugly face. Kid, surrender or we'll shoot. Buckteeth took the lead, and a dozen pirates surrounded Tang Zheng. aiming their guns at him. Tang Zheng hugged, and even tighter to prevent her from getting hurt. Their bodies were tightly pressed together, and couldn't help but blush. She had never had such intimate contact with the opposite sex in her entire life. However, she wasn't an unreasonable person. She knew that he was trying to protect her, so she obediently stuck close to him. Her soft and exquisite body leaned against Tang Zheng's, and her soul-stirring elasticity made Tang Zheng's head sway. However, he quickly calmed himself down and looked at the pirates who were surrounding him warily. The Sea King's face revealed a pleased expression, while Bruce and Bazer's faces were pale. It seemed that there was no hope now. Only Anne raised her head and looked at his determined face, waiting for him to make a move. Tang Zheng didn't move. Instead, he said, "Do it." The others didn't understand what he meant. Could it be that he had a helper? The answer was soon revealed. Huang Zhang moved, and with a flash of black light, the demon head blade soared into the air and chopped down. Pooh! A huge head flew up, and blood spurted into the sky. However, this was just the beginning. Huang Zhang's figure was like a ghost, and in the blink of an eye, he passed by 3 people, turning them into headless corpses. All of this happened so quickly that most people didn't have time to react. Buckteeth finally reacted and screamed in horror, immediately pulling the trigger. Gunshots immediately sounded like firecrackers, and the bullets flew directly toward Huang Zhang, Tang Zheng, and even Anne. Tang Zheng's hand swiped in front of him, activating the sky-devouring technique. The bullets disappeared without a trace before his eyes, but Huang Zhang didn't dodge at all. He held the demon head blade horizontally in front of his chest, and the clanging sounds of ding-dang rang out incessantly. However, he didn't slow down. With a raise of his hand, the blade fell, and another 4 people lost their lives. Huang Zhang's method of killing was truly vicious. He completely separated the heads of his enemies from their bodies. It was exceptionally bloody and terrifying, and it made the originally brutal pirates experience what fear was. With a panicked cry, a pirate threw down his rifle and fled backward. The others also retreated one after another, their faces pale and trembling. They didn't dare to face this godlike guy again. The Sea King's mouth was wide open, and his jaw almost fell to the ground. He stared at Huang Zhang, flabbergasted. So this guy wasn't an insignificant and invisible person after all. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.